Hello, check 1 2, testing 1, testing 2. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. The arsonist has oddly shaped feet. Hello, and welcome back to the Arc of E podcast. My name is Noah.
And my name is Gavin.
And we're the Blanchard Brothers. Back with you for another 2x2 retro review. We're going to mix it up a little bit.
Yep.
It's November. Hello again. Haven't talked to you in a bit.
Happy winter solstice. Happy Guy Fawkes Day. And soon to be happy Thanksgiving.
Yep, right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
We're recording this the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Hope you've been getting your cardio in and, planning for the big day.
Yep. Hope you got your pregnancy pants washed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elastic waist.
Clothes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We all know the classic Friends episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
I started doing that.
Let me teach you something about the human body. To warm up my stomach. Okay. It's November. We didn't put this one to a vote.
Nope.
Because we decided, I believe at the Mavericks concert?
Yes.
On the spot?
Yes.
I was like, decide what you want to do. And you were like, dude, Ninja November.
Yeah,
Like,
Sidekicks. Duh.
A no-brainer, Ninja November.
Yeah.
And it also happens to be a 90s Ninja November.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about two kid-centric. One's a little more young adult teenage leaning.
Yeah.
The other one's a little more kid-friendly. But movies that came out in the early 90s in the wake of the 80s ninja craze. So
Yes.
maybe we can chart where that started for us. And we're going to talk about Sidekicks. Hope people are familiar. I feel like
If
this
not,
one
it's on Amazon.
has
You should be
flown below
familiar.
the radar for years, but yes, now that it's back streaming, I hope people will check it out if you've never seen it before. And we're also going to talk about the third, what I'm now told is the third entry.
Yes.
We'll get into all of this, of the Three Ninjas franchise. So the third in the trilogy, which is Kickback. They kick back.
Yeah.
They
Three
don't
Ninjas
really,
Kickback.
it's not about them hanging out, though.
No.
Physically, they're kicking a lot of kicking. Okay, but yeah, we're gonna talk about those, and we're actually gonna do the reverse of what we normally do, which is we're gonna talk about those up front, and then we're gonna get into the laundry list of stuff we've been watching post Arctober. So yeah, we got about 3.5 weeks of stuff to catch up on. So I look forward to that. But we're gonna do the ninja stuff up top.
Yeah.
You seem deep in your phone. What do you got?
You know, in all this technical difficulty we had to start, I didn't really do my Sidekicks research. But yeah, I got a question though at the top. Can you give me like your favorite version of ninjas on screen? Like what's the best ninjas on screen?
Ninjas.
Or representation.
I don't know, because I'm not. What's the best representation? I don't know. That's a whole other conversation. I wouldn't consider. I mean, I think ninjas are cool. They're inherently cool.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say I'm a ninja guy. Like, that's not.
Right.
I didn't go seek out all of the ninja films of the 80s.
Right.
Of that boom. My exposure was mostly through these kids movies, which we're gonna talk about that, particularly in relation to Sideways or Sideways.
Sideways.
Are we doing Sideways, the Paul Giamatti Thomas Hayden Church classic?
We can. It's probably been 10 years, right?
It was a very strange slip of the tongue from Sidekicks to Sideways. I am also off my game because we spent a full 45 minutes trying to get GarageBand up and running, but it is running. And there's gonna be no editing on this episode because we're just vibing and we're just gonna flow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's just I'm gonna say this.
What is it for you? I mean,
Last Samurai.
Okay.
Ninjas are cool. We all like ninjas, but if you go back to them, they're kind of assholes. They're just mercenaries from feudal Japan. Like, they're not very honorable. They sneak up on you at night. You don't know they're coming. And, like, yeah, samurai, it is what it is with its honor code. You have all that. But just the scene where, like, Tom Cruise is like, all right, like, these guys are kind of like Native Americans. Like, I'm in with them, dances with wolves and all. And then all of a sudden, like, you just kind of see something coming over one of the houses. You're like, what the hell? And then, boom, the ninjas are attacking. That's probably, like, to me, the most honest, like, representation and, like, showcasing them in film. And it's just a small scene in this big movie about the last samurai, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But I have to say that, like, it's probably mid 80s that somewhere when VHS just boomed and somehow Canon became the, godfather, head honcho of just schlockbusters, like, making everything. It just, we came on this ninja craze, and it's not a bad thing, but we talked about, like, surf ninjas.
I was gonna say, I mean, if
There's,
you
like,
want to
not
talk about my favorite ninjas, I mean,
the Quimbies and the camouflage pajamas. Boy, those outfits really give them the ability to blend in with their surroundings. Like, those are the ninjas. Like, the kids are the warriors.
I mean,
like, they're
Satch is that's maybe my favorite.
Yeah, I could see that.
Representation of a ninja, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
We got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Which I watched all of the movies that are available on HBO Max and whatnot of them. Even the second of the reboot one that nobody really liked. Turtles Out of the Shadows.
The Bay ones,
yes.
The Bay produced ones. I don't think I saw the second one. Definitely saw the first one.
Oh, dude, it's even better.
Okay.
You got Shredder, you got Krang,
the first one was good.
You got Casey Jones.
Who plays Casey Jones?
Stephen Amell. Arrow.
If you're not bringing Elias Koteas to the
table, I know. Yeah,
then we have nothing.
Listen,
I have nothing further to discuss with you.
Yeah.
Sequel.
That's probably my one problem. That's my one problem with Turtles in Time is he just comes in. It's like, whoa, bro, you're not busting any heads. You're gonna hang out with Splinter.
Well,
it'd be a serious honor. Like, just I hate that.
We're gonna talk about old Lord Noranaga.
Yes.
Because Sab Shimono shows up in this, and you know what I realized is we've done 2 Sab movies. Mm-hmm. Can you name them?
Hang on.
Okay, Sab Shimono for the uninitiated. If you haven't seen Kicks Back, do you want to? I have the trailers, dude. I mean, they're interesting. It's not I could not find the Sidekicks one that is on Amazon. I almost wanted to pull just like record the audio and drop it in later.
Yeah.
But I have the trailers if you want to check them out.
I mean,
we don't have to.
I think in lieu of technical difficulties, you can drop them in whenever you want, because I don't want you to try and play it and then something happens and we can't finish recording.
And we're kind of talking back and forth between both of them. But for people who have not watched them, I don't know why you would want to listen to this episode if you haven't. Right. But spoilers abound. But let's at least set up from the top what each of them is about, and then we can go into the Three Ninjas franchise.
Yes.
And we can go into the Chuck Norris of it all.
Yes. Yeah. So you want to do Sidekicks first?
Sidekicks was your pick. That was the impetus for this entire episode. Right. So you had just been commenting to me, maybe on this very podcast, dude, Sidekicks. It came up in conversation.
Yes.
And you were like, can't find it anywhere. You're asking me about my VHS, I think.
Right. It's never had a DVD
out
release.
Out of the blue, it pops up on Prime.
And that's what I was telling you about the trailer. If you go to Prime and watch the trailer for it on Prime, it notes how it's first time available digital. They just didn't bother with the DVD release. Oh, I didn't even get to
that part of the trailer. I was just laughing so hard at no matter what language you say it in.
Yeah.
Chuck Norris means adventure or whatever.
Right. Yeah. But the trailer was solely cut to let everybody know that this is the first time it's been available digitally anywhere, because they never that's a really, just side note, we should definitely tally up. There's probably a lot of them, like movies that never got a proper DVD release that are like fucking gold. Mm-hmm. That no one probably, like, just they assume there's one, but there isn't one out there. I'm thinking like Nowhere, Sidekicks. There's probably 1 or 2 other ones in the early 90s that you miss. But
there's an Iraqi boy in one of these.
Yeah.
We'll get to him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead.
But anyway, so Sidekicks is essentially about a young man who
Barry
Zabruski.
Zabruski?
I thought it was Zabruski. We were both
Gabruski.
This is a movie we love, by the way. We've seen it since we were.
It's because they
5.
call him Barry Wary the
Yes.
whole time. That's like how they mock him, which, in retrospect, I mean, you guys could have tried a little harder with the name.
So, what I feel like, and when did this come out? What year was Sidekicks?
Sidekicks was from the year 1992.
Wow.
Unless we forget, from the auteur, Aaron Norris.
Yes.
No relation.
No, yeah, okay, sure. We'll talk about that disappointment.
One of my favorite bits of the trivia in here. Chuck Norris did this as a favor to his brother, the director. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure Chuck Norris did this to be in another movie.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he got his brother to direct it to like throw him a bone.
He did this as
the rest of his filmography.
He did this as a favor to a mattress salesman in Texas.
Yes.
That's what this was.
That's the reason we have this
and God bless him for
piece of early 90s cinema.
Big Mattress Mac Jim, whatever his name is, go buy a mattress if it's still running in Austin.
Barry Gabrewski.
Go. Barry Gabrewski has he's a dreamer. He's got a mind of his own.
He might have a serious
He's
condition.
on the spectrum, obviously.
Let's not get into that
Anyway,
territory. But
okay.
He is a dreamer.
He's a dreamer. And he basically has these different spells where he just nods off any time of day or night. Thank God the kid doesn't drive. And he's in a Chuck Norris movie. He's Chuck Norris's sidekick. Yeah. And I mean, the movie
Every
opens
kid's dream, right?
in the 90s. Nah, maybe.
See, that's where I think this movie is like oddly pitched.
Right.
Because that's what I want to talk about. But finish the
through a series of events, he meets an elderly Mr. Miyagi type who teaches him the martial arts, and it all culminates in
learning ninjutsu.
Yes.
Not karate.
Everything. Yes, he's learning
because everything has to be Karate Kid, but let's just tilt it a little.
Right.
Yes.
And through a series of happenstance, he winds up competing in a karate tournament against a Johnny Lawrence bully type who...
This kid wishes he could smell Zabka's farts.
Yes.
Continue.
I will say, though, sometimes I do like Stone over Kreese. Sometimes. And like when I'm just kind of had enough of... When I scroll through Instagram and I see all of Martin Cove reposting everything all the time, I'm like, Piscopo wouldn't do this. Like, he'd be happy about it, but he wouldn't do this. You know?
If Piscopo had a resurgence, you bet your fucking ass
that's true.
he would. What are we talking about?
I don't know.
All of a sudden, the sidekicks, like, all of a sudden they're like, hey, Cobra Kai hit, Chuck, you want to rehab your image a little bit?
Chuck.
You want to, yeah.
Anyway,
Anytime, Chuck.
Any old time, old buddy.
Old Chucky's around.
It basically culminates in like they're competing in this karate tournament. They don't have a force for the team, and out of pure like, hey, this hot lady's kind of trying to get my attention. What does she? Oh, she wants me to be on their karate team. All right. I mean,
if anybody's gonna pull your attention,
it's gonna be.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
I mean, she had the 1-2 punch. This and Double Dragon.
Yes.
Satori.
Yes.
Double Dragon.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, and so Chuck agrees to join them in the karate tournament.
They fight, and then the kid wins. But they don't fight; they break. We'll get to all of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's my thing: as a kid watching this, Chuck Norris does not occupy the space of, say, a Schwarzenegger in, for instance, Last Action Hero.
I was going to say,
a lot of people are like,
do you think somebody saw the spec script for that and was like, oh, we should do that, and tried to beat him to the punch, but they used Chuck Norris?
I think this stuff was in the ether, and it's the one time that Chuck was actually ahead of the game, because he does Top Dog 10 years after Turner and Hooch, and like K9, maybe not that far apart,
right?
But he's late to the party on like a lot of these genre moves where he's like playing catch up, but
you got to argue he started some of it in the 80s, because I mean the Octagon. Come on.
Okay. See, and that's my thing. I'm not a Norris guy.
Right.
I don't know if I have ever sat through a Chuck Norris film outside of Top Dog. For the kid ones, I watched when we were younger. Mm-hmm. But I never circled back when we were older because he just was never my guy. I don't know.
Dude, Delta Force with Lee Marvin?
I've never. I mean, of course, I've absorbed bits and pieces.
That's the
over
only.
the
Honestly,
years
dude,
from, like,
that's the only one you should go back to.
from Docs and from other. But
Because you get Lee Marvin as his buddy, but you get Robert Forster as a Israeli, or no, as an Arab terrorist.
okay,
And it all divulges into like, here's Arabs and they've got these Jews on a plane they're kidnapping. It's very much playing to the guys who run canon at the time.
okay,
Yeah.
So, and the Hitman is the one with Michael Parks.
I believe so. And that's the one I cannot find anywhere.
I think I saw that it's rentable on.
If it
Prime.
gets rented, that's right. It's not, yeah, I don't want to spend money on it right now, but if I have to, I will, because that is the one. That's my favorite bit from Sidekicks.
Okay, that's what I wanted to get to. So when we're watching this as kids,
We don't have that context, no.
you did, and I'm saying you didn't either. But I'm asking because I'm like, I never got as a kid that like these are tableaus from
His
Nora's
own movies.
that
Just-
they're kind of riffing on.
Just the one where he's trying to get his attention and he's hanging on a helicopter yelling at him. I was like, well, I know that's missing in action. That's the only one.
Yeah.
But it never clicked like, oh, these are all his movies. Which is obvious because he's watching them. They talk about Barry just being a fucking super fan. And
Right.
to me, that formula works with literally, it could be anything, man. Like you could, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
in the 90s, you could have been like, Richard Petty's my favorite race car driver. I have fantasies about driving cars with Richard Petty. And then, oh my God, somebody on his racing team needs me to drive. And I'm 16. I just got my license and bam, here we go. You could totally do that.
The ones of these that don't like totally work are things like Kazam, because it's like
Yes.
not everybody's not like, oh, I wish I could meet Shaq and he could grant me 3 wishes. It's like, I wish I could meet Shaq and play basketball with him,
Right.
or play basketball like him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, that's where that one kind of like, what are we doing here? What's going on? But no, I agree. The setup of kid who, especially in this case where it's like, I related to him, A, because it's Jonathan Brandis. We were obsessed with him from
Oh, yeah.
Sequest, first
Yes.
of all. And I mean, he was blonde, he was scrawny in this, like me. So in the same way that like LaRusso was like easy to buy into in Karate Kid.
And he's the
Of
only
course
one that
naturally
I
was
just
like, oh, okay, I like this kid. I did struggle with asthma when we were in Japan.
Yes,
I
both
was
of
fine
us.
when we came
Yeah,
back.
both of us
here,
did.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't remember you.
I had an inhaler treatment before, about like a year before
I
you
had the
did.
bag one.
Me
not
too.
The aerosol.
I didn't have an
the-
aerosol.
the-
You had to breathe into
the
that,
pump
yeah.
bag thingy.
No, but and honestly, Jonathan Brandis was the one. If I could, if I had 3 wishes from Shaq, the first one would be: I know you can't bring people back from the dead, but bring Jonathan Brandis back from the dead. I don't care if
That's
he's
a
a
rough
zombie,
one, man.
just do it, because I feel like he was right there. You give him like 5 more years, and I feel like there's a break, and he can get into like really good indie parts for people who can't act.
I honestly,
he
I
just
feel-
like it was like
I
he
feel
was just
like
waiting.
if he had just stuck around, like
And I know suicide's a big deal anytime.
not to make light of it at all,
And not to make light of it, but
when I had to,
but at the same
when I
time,
had
you
to-
wish that he
I
could have
had
just
to
stuck it out for a few
explain
more
to
years.
Veronica, like contextually, I was like, he was a teen heartthrob. He was one of the, and I started thinking about it, and I'm like, I've heard this in multiple cases, but I'm like, I mean, it's an unfortunate side effect, but
Was it Wild America?
No, I don't know if it was that one. I'm just saying DiCaprio just ate his lunch.
Yeah.
Like, they were going out for a lot of the same, and it's like, he never got one of those key, like, big dramatic part where he's paired with, like, you know, a big league elder statesman sort of
and the
actor.
closest I'm thinking is Wild America with Renfro and Devon Sawa, right?
Is that, yeah, he's the third brother?
So do you tell me out of that movie only one of those guys is still around now? The rest have died. That's wild, dude.
upsetting to think
It is upsetting. And honestly, dude, this might not be a popular opinion. River Phoenix does an overdose at the Viper Room. Leonardo DiCaprio, who? Because
it
was his to lose, man. It was his show to lose. Yeah. You look at all the stuff that guy did before he
they
passed.
would have been getting the scraps. 100%.
And then his little brother, nobody would know who the hell he is. That's my little brother Joaquin.
I feel like that still would have happened.
Maybe, possibly.
But
because
we
people
don't have to get into all of that. But
well,
yeah,
no,
you could argue
people
without that singular event, that like that core of his, like, defining him for so long, that Joaquin Phoenix doesn't become the level of actor that he is.
Or he just pushed harder. He just pushed harder to be better than his brother, because by all accounts, apparently they were like just a roaming family that went to auditions, and everybody was doing everything. So destined for stardom.
Anyways, yes. R.I.P. Jonathan Brandis. I think he holds up as being great. Most people would probably know him from the It TV movie. He plays Bill.
Yes.
And if you stuck around for Neverending Story 2,
he plays Bastion.
Yes. And then, of course, Sequest, which we mentioned, which is, I don't know if people even remember Sequest, but it was basically Star Trek in the ocean with Roy Scheider.
Yes.
I always do that. It ran for a while, though, right?
What?
It ran for a while.
I've never gone back to look for it to watch it, and I don't know.
We were like all in on that, but we were not Star Trek kids.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Just like we were all in on Waterworld. You know?
We really dug water, apparently.
Yeah.
We had Sequest action figures. I do remember
and Waterworld action figures.
We went to some kind of like gift exchange or toy thing on base. And I remember getting Sequest action figures that we already had.
Yes.
Does that ring a bell?
Yes. Okay. That sounds familiar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think Brandis is great in this.
Also, we want to say R.I.P. to Mako.
Yes.
Kills it in every role he's ever in. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I don't know what he did past the Admiral from Pearl Harbor, but that's the last big thing I remember seeing him in.
I mean, he's just one of those
just
dudes
there.
who was just always around. We could go through the list of credits. Same with Sab Shimono when we get to Three Ninjas. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up.
Wait, what?
What?
Who's the guy you just said?
Sab Shimono.
Is he in Pray for Death?
Probably.
I think that's him at Pray for Death.
So
I asked you about ninjas. Every list says Pray for Death is like the ninja movie to watch. I've never seen it. I think it was a big 80s one, but they're like,
check it out.
Yeah.
I mean, the big Mako one that comes to mind is Conan.
Mm-hmm.
And did he stick around for Destroyer as well?
I think he did.
I think he's in both.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he was just in shit for years. And then I feel terrible because we didn't even say her name earlier. Julia Nixon.
Yes.
Is the teacher who...
Yes, but do you want to talk about this movie's secret weapon? This movie has the one and only Girl Next Door.
Oh, that's the secret weapon.
She is the secret
weapon. I was going
weapon.
a completely different direction.
You were going to say Bo Bridges?
Yeah, the secret weapon is Bo Bridges. Double B, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Just killing it.
Yeah. I don't know what other movies Danica McKellar did in the 90s, but you're telling me the one she does is because Chuck Norris owes a favor to a mattress salesman?
Yeah.
That's serendipity, baby. Because she's perfect in this.
I gotta say, of course, we had exposure to Wonder Years, so naturally I'm like completely in love with her. But this was one of the first movies I remember being like, oh, I like this old. Who's this older lady?
Yes, of course.
Whoa. Oh. And then you have the whole dynamic of like, she's in all of Barry's early fantasies
as Chuck's woman.
As Chuck's woman, mainly being saved and like paired up with Chuck. They don't do it. It's not like.
But here's the thing:
for teacher, but like
it's not hot for teacher. She's a powerful female mother figure, and his mother has died. So that's what that is in my head. I know I'm reading way too much into this movie, but in my head, it's like the one woman who's like not chastised him that much and is the one like teacher that cares about him. There's no other strong adult female to be there for him. It's natural that teacher's going to be the woman in his dreams that he's saving.
Let's be real. She goes above and beyond with like her commitment to this kid, by the way. Like lots of extra, but she gets a little gander. She gets a little gander at Bo Bridges and she's like,
oh, it's totally about him. She's upset. She's frustrated to meet with him that day. Once she meets with him, she's all in for the double B, baby. That's all she wants.
And see, that's the one, as a kid, I probably was like, oh, these adults are talking, whatever. But it weirdly, I don't want to say it adds like a great layer of gravitas, but like, you buy their like have like good romantic interplay and the whole scene of like, you know, yes, I lost my wife and everything, which then goes into a wild scene where all of the sudden the restaurant, which is closed at the time, is flooded with a biker gang.
Yes.
that then
with the
I don't Mr. Lee we've like just been introduced to him.
Yes.
Well, his intro is arriving at the at the trade station.
Did you watch it on Prime?
Yeah.
Did you notice that was edited?
No, I don't know if I did.
In the original VHS,
what does he call him?
He says, "Hey, can you tell that
chink
chink
okay
to put that cigar on?" He's like, "Can you tell me what one?" Since we all look alike.
What did they correct it to in this? Because I noticed that
it's bad ADR, but it's overdubbed to that fella or that guy or something. But they definitely cut the racism out of it, which I was like, it feels like that's a lot more work than being like, hey, there is some racist undertones in this, but we weren't going to edit this. This is presented.
Of course, I was sitting there going like, oh, is this movie problematic? And the first time I was asking that is when Piscopo was doing full on yellow face with a Fu Manchu. And
I don't think you can.
I think it works ultimately
in the context.
In context, because A, it is a daydream. B, he's being made to look ridiculous and like an idiot and a buffoon.
Yes.
And he is also a racist piece of shit in this movie.
Yes.
So,
you believe in the Easter Bunny too, kid?
Yeah. Okay. What?
I just think
we were not conscious.
No.
We were not alive for the Piscopo era.
No, we were not.
But I've heard tell of like he comes on to SNL and some people absolutely fucking hate him.
Yes.
But some people love him and think he's like God's gift to comedy. And particularly Lorne Michaels like thinks that that's the man to lead the show, I guess. And this is in the Eddie Murphy era, like as Eddie's transitioning out basically. And so Piscopo becomes the dude, right?
Tries to, I guess.
Is he like, is it like a Carrot Top thing where like people talk shit about him and he was like, fuck you, I'm going to get jacked and so nobody will talk shit? Or was it just, he started doing movies and so he wanted to get roided out and like, what happened? What do you know about Piscopo?
I'm basing all of my trajectory of what happened to him off of the Family Guy bit where it's like, here, Joe, I bought you this weight set. Thanks. I'll only use it when I'm not working. And that's why he got so ripped. That was a bit from a Family Guy episode years ago.
That sounds like a Family Guy joke.
But I honestly have no idea. I've never, honestly, except for what is the one I talked to you about last year with Treat Williams and him, where it's like a zombie cop buddy
Dead
cop.
Heat, I totally want to watch.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's the only
that
other.
Looks really fun, actually.
Yeah, he was fucking amazing in it. So I'm like, okay, did he just not work on television doing comedy bits? Like, you got to give him something to sink his teeth into? What are we doing? But, I think he does pretty good in this for being an asshole. It's not hard. I don't know if he's like trying to channel like John Kreese energy or what, because there's never any.
It feels like a parody of
Yes.
Kreese. In so many ways.
Like Kreese who never went to Nam.
Here's the thing. The movie is obviously so indebted to Karate Kid.
Yes.
And walks the line of being a parody of it.
To an extent, yeah.
But also kind of wants to have its cake and eat it too at the same time.
Right.
Obviously, it breaks a little bit with just having the dream sequences and that setup is like kind of the running thread. But basically, he starts getting trained by Mr. Lee.
Right. Slowly starts to kick the asthma.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Through some like different concoctions and other random shit. His dad and is it Miss
Noreen?
What's her name?
Noreen Chan.
Noreen.
Yeah.
They start develop. They never like fully go there.
Right.
But you feel the tension. It's
it's there. Like as soon as they leave that karate tournament, it's on.
You got Richard Mall as the gym teacher.
Oh, dude.
A lot of great stuff there.
That's the thing.
Oh, and we haven't mentioned Mapes, which is the douchebag English teacher, who's a great prick. There's a lot of great pricks in this movie. Between Piscopo, Mapes, which is Garrett Graham. He's in a bunch of De Palma movies. And he was also Jonathan Demme's guy. He's in a bunch of Demme movies as well. But yeah, he's just one of those faces. But he sucks. Piscopo sucks. You think that Richard Mall, the the gym teacher, is going to be yet another like adversary.
Well, when he's
And
introduced
in
the dream
the
sequence, he's tightening. He's a German scientist, and he's
a Nazi scientist.
And that's the thing. I don't know if that's a movie reference, but if it is, I want to know what movie they're talking about.
See, and that's the thing. I think some of these go really broad in it, because you're going to tell me the one that you tell me is referencing the Hitman. When he shows up with a mullet, one of the best like visual gags. I'm sorry, but when you see Jonathan Brandis like pull himself up over the ledge, he's doing the pull-ups in his room.
And he comes
up, and all of a sudden he's got the mullet, and they go in, and then like Piscopo's he is cranked up to like 13.
Yes.
And that whole sequence looks like a cross between like Joel Schumacher's Batman
and a Tom and Jerry cartoon.
Yes, there was something else that came to mind as well, but now it escapes me. I had this is what the child of it is, but
the aesthetic and look is totally the Hitman.
I'm assuming the villains aren't like that.
No, I would imagine they're a lot worse. Yeah. But I still want to see the Hitman. Like,
as do I.
It's just interesting because I never put two and two together as a kid when we watched this a million times. Going back and watching it now, as much as it's cheesy and campy and it is what it is, the dream sequences are actually pretty relevant to like this kid's overall psyche. Mm-hmm. You know, he's a sidekick straight up. It's him and Chuck in the ninja suits. And I love the way they get around having to actually have any of them do anything by putting them all in masks or stunt makers. We can talk about that at the end in a minute. But like, so there's that. And then it's like he's in trouble. And then, you know, Chuck's hanging on a helicopter telling him to watch out because someone's coming to get him. And a ninja breaks through the wall and is coming to get him, and bam, it's his teacher. So all of the dream things do inform. Like
when he's having his ribs cut, that's when he has
that's right
the
after
attack.
Yeah, right after basically Cellini is right. Lauren pities him.
Yeah,
and so like, of course, it's just like, I don't know if they meant to do that or if that's just like, this will be cool.
That, of course, never played for me as a kid or whatever. But yeah, no, I was like, this is actually, you know, for what it is.
I think that's why it has survived like it has, at least for us and other people who like it, is they realize when they're watching it, they don't know exactly what it is, but there is something about this that is like, it's an okay, nowadays, maybe back in the day, I don't know, it was always, don't ever meet your heroes. Don't. It's not going to work out. Right. They're going to be dicks. But this is one of those times where it's like, hey, you know what? If your hero really is your hero, when you meet him, it'll be awesome under whatever circumstance it is, you know? And it doesn't matter how many times I watch it. Doesn't matter how many times I've seen it. That scene where he's watching the karate and the tournament and Norris comes and sits down behind him and he realizes who he is. And he's like, let's go win this thing. That is like some of the coolest shit in the world to me. It's like, that would never happen. One, there'd be 3 bodyguards around him. You mean to tell me he's that big of a guy? He can't be on the ground floor. They got to shoot a light up on him to highlight him walking above everyone. He's just going to walk down the steps at this karate tournament, sit down like a regular Joe, and then be like, I'm going to suit up and go do that. And of course, really, Chuck Norris, you got a problem with that, son? Like that was hilarious to us as kids. We loved it every time we saw it.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
In retrospect, he's not exactly for a movie that is centered around, oh my God, Chuck, the coolest dude ever. He's not really the most charismatic dude. And like, again, I haven't seen a lot of his movies, but like, on the rung of action movie actors. I mean, he's definitely more in the Charlie Bronson school.
Of course, yeah, no.
Of like, I'm not going to talk very much.
Right.
But Veronica was watching this with me, and she brought up an interesting thing where she was just like, so was he like a big guy for doing his own stunts? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I guess for most of his fights. And of course, the opening one, like you're talking about, they had the ninja mask on. I'm like, I'm pretty sure he wasn't there that day. Though.
No.
Like, they just had the close-ups with, like, where you hear his voice. And maybe he was in the suit for that. But, you know.
That's 80 yard.
Yes.
Gotta be.
So, I wanted to bring up the training sequences, though.
Oh, yeah.
With Mako, which they cut back to. And I love the commitment to the bit of using the same score virtually every time.
Oh, yeah.
And I had one of these epiphany moments, dude, where I'm like, I made this song probably about a year and a half ago called Subtitle. Mm-hmm. It was very like kind of Asian inspired, but I always was like, what does it remind me of?
It reminds you.
It's the training montage. So I want you to listen to this and see if you like think the same thing.
Okay. Oh my God, no.
All I needed was the power chord.
That's all you needed was a power chord, dude. That would have been fucking... Dude, you have to work on that. You have to go back to that and tweak it.
I was just like, wow, dude, that just came out. That was so weird.
That is probably the one piece of music next to the... Dun, 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 like whatever music is playing when he like, again... You start out with Brandis in his red kimono, like gi or whatever, ready to do it, and then all of a sudden here's that white ninja again, just killing it with the nunchucks like it's nothing.
Oh, an insane display.
And then they just
so cool.
He steps back up from his last move, and it's like Barry's back, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, you're like, I want to see what that looked like from everybody else's perspective.
I just want to watch them shoot that scene with that guy doing all of that. Obviously, you know, the padding on it. It's a padded suit. It is what it is, but. This also, to me, has a distinction of, like, a technical, disciplined way to, like, eviscerate your opponent without even touching him, Noah. You talked about earlier. There's no fighting between Barry and Cellini. He gives him an opportunity. He says, you can come get a piece of me. What do? They're brick breaking. The ancient Japanese art of brick breaking.
So, basically, let's be clear here.
Yes.
They basically go, well, we can't do Karate Kid. We can't just have them fight.
There's no move for him to do.
So, wait a second. We'll just rip off part 2. Not as many people saw that, right?
The ice block
You want to have them break ice? No, we'll do bricks instead.
They do bricks in competitions, don't they?
Okay. So, they do establish that they trained in brick breaking.
Yes.
Which I'm like, did you know you were entering... Cellini doesn't bring up the, like, hey, you want to settle this in the tournament until, like, very late in the game.
But I don't think
they were somehow prepping for this the whole time.
Did the brick breaking thing happen early on? I feel like that was in the second training montage, though.
I could be wrong.
It might have been. I don't know. Because there's the one... At some point,
they take a break and go to the zoo.
Right.
I do remember that.
And you see Noreen doing her kata, and after that, they go again. And I feel like after that... Okay. Because he trains and gets a little better. He fights Cellini, and that's when the coach is like, Barry... Not bad, kid. Yeah. Not bad at all. Like, he stood up for himself.
And that's when Winnie Cooper finally decides, like, she goes from being like, oh, I like you, Barry, just not like that.
To like,
you don't pity me. To like, oh, he can stand up for himself. He's got a little bit of a backbone. And then she's like, you know.
That blonde hair. Ooh,
she's behind him.
Yeah. She's
not as, like, integrated into the final, like, tournament as, say, Allie in Karate Kid. Or anyways, so... They have, like, they give us some time to at least look at some cool demonstration stuff because we're not going to get a fight. Now, here's the thing, though.
Cellini's fighting left and right.
Yes, but we do get a fight.
Yes.
But the the Norris Piscopo fight is so comical. Like, it's not even a technically interesting fight in any way. It's played for laughs, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
And then we build to the finale. They do the brick breaking. I don't understand why Mako lights the bricks on fire.
Spectacle?
I guess, but
I mean, I feel like it's cheating.
Like, how is that legal?
Right.
Yes, exactly.
How is the fire marshal on stage?
It looks more badass, I suppose. But yeah. So
I love that they like no break. It's like, what? Hey, no break.
Yeah.
And this has one of the things that I'm never going to be able to start it. It's something that's only going to be happening with you and I. But I've wanted to, like, when shit hits the fan and gets real, Noah, I've wanted to start the phrase, Noah, Randy Cellini is asking for another brick. Like, oh shit, Cellini just asked for another brick. Just say that shit randomly out and about so we know that, like, shit's going down, it's getting real. No one else is going to know what I'm talking about but you. So if we ever go out and about somewhere.
For another. Yeah. Okay. Duly noted.
Now, and the beautiful thing about it is, this is one of my favorite endings, is that like he's met his hero,
right?
And he's got this karate magazine, which I forget that there are karate magazines, and the whole bit we can sell this real quick. The whole bit between Pishkapo is like when they first meet him, he's like, "I would kick Chuck Norris's ass, his ass. You hear me, kid? Kick his ass." You know, and it's like. You know, we're not going to train with him. That's not what karate is about. He's like, karate is a sport of discipline. And this, he's like, yeah, you believe in the Easter Bunny too, kid? Like, it's like, no, you learn. You learn karate to be a badass. That's it.
Yes.
And Barry's obviously like, no, there is a skill behind this. It's only meant for defense, blah, blah, blah.
It's just like, whereas Karate Kid is inherently about that and the thematics of like coming to learn that over the course of like an hour's worth of training and all of that. It's just kind of brushed off here. It's like, the kid is basically like, I've seen Karate Kid. I know what this is supposed to be about.
I've seen Chuck Norris movies.
You guys even have the same color scheme. You're just fucking tigers instead.
You're just Cobra Kai in Texas for all I give a shit about.
Yes.
Yeah. But I do love.
Great use of Texas, of Houston.
Oh, yeah, of course.
The training montages around the fountain.
Yes.
The architecture.
I mean, it's right up there with the...
they show you the zoo, for God's sake.
It's right up there with the skating scene in Airborne.
Yeah.
That apparently friend of the show, Yoni Wolf, has never been to. You know?
As far as we know.
Yeah.
Okay.
The ending.
Yes, the ending.
I love... He's had the magazine. Cellini tore it up. And so I got a big crease down the middle, but he put it back together with tape. And he's like, I've met my hero. I'm good. This was a
I don't have to dream anymore.
Yeah.
I lived it.
Yeah.
He all but says that. I mean, that should have been the last one.
He basically, he talks to him... He talks to Norris about dreams, and it's like, are they real, blah, 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 yeah? And he leaves the magazine, and they walk away from what looks like a desolate convention center, like no one's there anymore. And then randomly out of nowhere, this kid in a wheelchair rolls up, gets the magazine, is like, oh, cool.
Well, you didn't mention that Chuck disappeared.
Yes.
Like, he looks back, and it's like, was I really talking to Chuck? And I'm like, did this whole tournament happen?
Yeah.
Like, did
they get... Oh, they just got there, and it was closed.
Yeah. Was this all a fever
it never
dream,
happened.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah, the entire last bit of this movie is in his mind as to what happened. But, of course, you know, his dad and Noreen come up with a trophy and walk away with him. So either they went and bought that for him to make him feel better.
Especially, though, when he's not there.
No.
At the end.
She drove herself. Neither is Mako.
She only pops in for, like, one scene.
Yeah.
In that. Yeah, and I love... Yeah, Mako is like... He's like, oh, yeah, I'll be back. I gotta go work a shift at the restaurant. Yeah. Comes back
I go home. What?
No, we're in a karate gi.
Don't need a karate gi for breaking.
Yeah.
I love, dude. I wish there's probably some gems. A gem we haven't found with him, but I fucking love Mako. Like anything he's ever been in.
Great press.
Same thing with the next guy we're going to talk about, old Victor Wong himself.
Oh hell yeah.
So,
but yes, the magic is passed on somehow through the magazine, and maybe this kid's gonna go have an adventure with Chuck Norris
from his wheelchair. But in his dreams, I mean, and that's what it talks about. It's like dreams are a good thing. They can tell you about stuff, but you can't let them control you. And he does learn. That's like one of the reasons why I love the Hitman bit. Is at the end he goes in, he's like, Barry, where's Noreen? He's like, this is my dream, man. Like this obviously it's not her. It's fucking Lauren from down the street. Like. And that's totally like
get out of here, Chuck, because I'm a hormone-filled teenager, and this dream sequence is about to get very dark.
Yeah, this is the cut of the movie they had to chop out, Aaron. We forgot to mention the Western one I did like.
Yes, in my head I was like, so was this?
This was Walker.
He done like in my head I was like, had he done a big Western prior, or was this?
I think this is the basis for Walker.
Because Walker is 93.
Right after this.
Starts right after this, yeah.
It's like somebody was like, I didn't really get the rest of it, but that Western one,
yeah,
I think you'd be good at that, but maybe not back in the Old West.
Make mine milk, too.
Yeah. No, it's milk, and they all have make mine milk, make it double or whatever.
Yeah.
Double milk. Yeah. That's Lone Wolf. Little Wolf, too.
But yeah, I gotta say, like, I was fully prepared to go back and be like, oh, dude, this is trash. But other than the fact that, like, I saw in the Amazon trailer, it's like one of the top 5 kid martial arts movies or something. And in my head, I'm like, so Karate Kid 1, 2, 3
surf ninjas,
I'm like,
and this.
and what else would we throw?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, yeah, great. In the Pantheon, I was like, you're clearly at the bottom, but it was some quote, and it was just like, one of the top 5. And I'm like, it's clearly the number 5.
It's
like, whatever.
That's just a quote they pull from IMDb.
But I think outside of some of the demonstration stuff you get to see, it's not a technically great, like, it's not particularly well shot outside of that nunchuck sequence.
Yeah.
I do like the dream sequences.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely does not. I mean, it's nowhere near Daniel San.
No.
I mean, it's huffing the fumes of Karate Kid
right.
at most. But it's still enjoyable, and I still had enough nostalgia factor for it here. And even not being a Chuck fan in the intervening years didn't stop me from like enjoying it for what it is. Mm-hmm. And it's again what I think holds it together.
Bill Bridges,
though, are those supporting performances though, and the fact that they're not just phoning it in.
No, they're...
And actually, we're going to talk... Weirdly, we're going to talk about that in 3 Ninjas. And that, dear listener, is where we almost lost it all. We're... Seconds for you. Full week for us.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
We did Thanksgiving in between the time.
We did. Mm-hmm. We did do Thanksgiving. So we're coming at you now on the very last day of Ninja November.
Yes.
This probably isn't even going to post until... I couldn't... I'm terrible at improv. This is why we could never be part of ASCAD or anything like that. Okay. Yeah. So part 2 now of our 2x2 retro review.
Right.
90s Ninja.
Nostalgia
November review.
Right.
We're on to 3 Ninjas.
Yes.
Kick Back. The aforementioned third in the franchise.
Right. Why don't we take some time to explain exactly how that went down? Did you find this in any of your research?
I did. I did a bit of research on this one. So, if you're unfamiliar with the 3 Ninjas franchise, it started as a Disney Disney-owned property through Touchstone, correct?
Yes.
Okay. First one is basically, what if we took Home Alone?
Yeah.
And I want to say crossed it with Karate Kid, but not even necessarily. What is it more in the spirit of?
I feel like it's more in the spirit of like American Ninja or like some kind of one of those like
because
best
you
of the
do
best
still have Grandpa,
right?
The incredible Victor Wong,
yes,
the only person to appear in all 4 films in the franchise.
Whoa, he's in High Noon at Mega Mountain?
Didn't realize it until I looked it up, but yeah, he is.
Yeah, I only want to watch that because of one Terry Hulk Hogan Balea.
I mean, we could do a whole miniseries on the Hogan verse.
Oh, God.
I don't know if I want to, but we could. Okay.
Happy Hogan holidays.
Anyways, first one, 3 little kids, Rocky, Colt, Tum Tum.
Yes.
I gave them in descending order of age.
Yes.
Okay. They're trained by their grandfather.
In the art of ninjas.
Yes.
Yes. And it's a summer thing. Like that's just what they do up at his cabin.
Yeah.
In the woods.
As is tradition.
Yes.
And so the setup of the first one, I don't remember. Is it like it's tied in with their dad in the first one, right?
Yes.
Is their dad a lawyer?
What is their father is an FBI agent.
Excuse me.
And
so he's still an FBI agent in this third one, where he is the baseball coach.
Yes. So the
got nothing but time on his hands.
Nope.
Just hanging around waiting for them to call.
Well, here's the thing. In the first one, we see that he is after this guy named Snyder. And
I remember Snyder.
There's a
big villain in our childhood.
Very
Terry
Silver.
Terry Silver.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. If Terry Silver was like actually an arms dealer, not a chemical.
You put Tig in 3 Ninjas.
It's a whole nother movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did this? Yeah, because Karate Kid Part 3 is 89. So they're definitely like, we need a Terry Silver type. Tall, ponytail, good with martial arts. And essentially, the whole conflict is like, his wife, his father-in-law, Grandpa Mori Tanaka is his father-in-law. And the whole thing is like, yeah, your buddy, the guy that you like trained with and knows your martial arts fighting style, he's a bad dude. Like, they go through the whole thing where, like, who's the guy in the picture with Grandpa? And they have, like, the folded over part where it's like, oh, this bad guy. Like,
Snyder.
Yeah, exactly. And basically, it's a Home Alone romp because, like, Snyder sends
the
these
3 goons.
Right, to go get these kids.
The buffoons. Yeah.
And they outsmart them for a little bit.
We should hide. We should kick their butts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember...
Classic, $30 million, take it to the bank.
Yeah.
Huge hit. Small budget, huge hit.
But what you find out is they shot that one and Knuckles Up back to back. You would have never thought. Like, oh, hey, there's going to be a sequel to this.
So Knuckles Up is still Disney produced. That's not after. So as I understood it, first one comes out, relatively big hit, big on VHS as well.
Yes. And
TriStar, who had it initially, right?
Right.
No. What did we just say?
Touchstone
is the Disney imprint.
Right.
TriStar, from what I understood, bought the rights off of the success of the first one.
Right.
And TriStar makes 2 follow-ups. Apparently, both of these were released theatrically, but I thought these 2 were. But you're telling me no, because that was the whole thing with the kids aging out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They shot the first 1 and 3 back to back. That's why there's the same Rocky, Colt, and Tum Tum in 1 and 2.
Right.
And the idea was that after stopping Snyder with the help of their grandfather, Mori Tanaka, they basically go on and they start to right the wrongs that the white man has, put on the Native American population.
Right.
With basically there's some big oil tycoon or like some big land developer dude who's like...
It's Charles Napier.
It is Charles Napier. That's right. He's basically buying up
land. A step up acting wise from Snyder.
Yeah.
And then I would argue that Sab Shimono is the top tier.
Oh yeah,
and
that's
rare that again. You're telling me technically this is the third one, but in my head it was always the second one, even though that made no sense because
Kickback is what you're saying.
Rocky and yes. Because
if you're watching this in the succession when they come out,
yes,
you would almost have to be like, if you started the third one as, hey, remember that time and it was like a blast from the past, it would work.
But they kind of, so this is, I didn't rewatch any of the other ones.
Right.
So this is vague memories, but we're moving into Kickback. Well, excuse me. Do you want to say anything more about
3?
Knuckle Up?
Yeah, it's kind of weirdly like my favorite. I remember.
Really?
No, this is going to be a weird, you're probably not going to remember any of this. When Knuckles Up came out, we were in Japan. It came out on video, right? Yeah. We'd already seen the first 2, quote unquote, 3 Ninjas and 3 Ninjas Kickback. And I remember we had a babysitter. It was either Ted Height's daughter was babysitting us with everybody at our house, or we had gone to their tower apartment and we were all there because mom and dad had all gone out. And we were watching this one. It's like, oh my God, it's a new one. It's great. It was one of those hard to find on VHS because, it is an air base in Japan and limited supply. It's not like, Blockbuster wasn't a huge thing. There was no Netflix.
Movies mostly from the shopette on base. Basically the equivalent of a gas station.
Essentially, yes. And a Class 6.
Which honestly takes us back. So, this is taking us off on a tangent, but in North Carolina, when we would rent movies with Paul,
right,
the old chip system VHS, was that a standalone VHS store or was that part of the grocery store?
That was a standalone thing. You're talking about the one that was,
but for a time
next to Food Line.
You also rent movies from the grocery store
at one point, somewhere? Maybe.
Am I crazy? We did that, or am I just conflating it with Japan, where we would get it from the shop bet?
It's just a shop bet, I believe.
Okay. And I remember there would be like 10 to 12 movies to choose from at the shop at. Like, these are the new releases.
Right.
This is what's available.
It was essentially a Redbox before it was Redbox.
Yeah. And then I imagine there was somebody on base who, like, whenever they rotated through, was just hoarding all of these and adding them to their collection. But they just weren't available, for any of the public to
Exactly.
To get.
Well, because the thing was, you could go to the Yujo Community Center and you could rent games, like Super Nintendo games, and movies. But basically, it was like the library. I remember we did that a couple times.
And just so you know, if you can find one of these fabled buildings called a library, you can find so many movies, like movies that aren't streaming,
right?
That just came out in some cases, like just.
I rented DVDs from the Shaw Library all the time. Yeah, Shaw Air Force Base one.
Great resource.
Yeah, and
also,
there's books.
They got some books there, apparently.
And old microfilm. Anyway, but I remember we were watching the Knuckles Up, and it's the scene where they're doing the night raid thing, where like they either save the, for some reason they're in like a sewer or tunnel or whatever. And
a lot of tunnels and sewers throughout this franchise.
Right.
But, yes.
But they've got to run and they like have to jump into this lake as there's an explosion. And I remember our babysitter was just like, oh yeah, Tum Tum dies in this one. And I was like,
oh, I don't remember.
Oh no. Like I was like, oh no, what? And I'm like, as I'm watching it, there's an explosion. I'm like, oh no, is this it? And she just kind of is looking at me, laughing at me like, you dumb son of a bitch. You really think they're not going to kill a child in this child's movie.
Especially not Tum Tum.
Right, yeah. And so
that would be some heavy shit,
but
though. If they, like, in one of these, they're like, guess what? Now it's 2 ninjas.
Right, because, like, one of them gets shot or, like, you know, or, like, hit by a car or some shit.
Dude.
Terrible. Just straight up, you know.
Let's do not a hard reboot. Let's do a reboot, a soft reboot. Mm-hmm. Make 5, and they're full grown, and they've gone in their separate directions.
They still have the mindset that they're like.
One of them, obviously, you make it Tum Tum. To me, you make it Tum Tum. If you really want to get the heartstrings for everybody, but
he's an MMA fighter, and he gets killed in the ring.
Okay, whatever. But yeah, regardless. No, I was thinking more like he's killed in some sort of mysterious circumstances, and then we find that, you know, it leads to an adventure, as it often does.
Right.
And yeah, no, because if you have it happen in the ring, then it's just Rocky 4. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no.
Plus, how are 2 of them going to avenge him in the ring simultaneously against one? But, you know, you're overcomplicating things.
Yeah.
He gets murdered by, like, you know, the descendants of Sab Shimono's character. Even though he turns good at the end. We'll get to that. Okay, anyways. But yeah, gritty reboot. We should start writing it.
Yeah, let's do
Find out what Colt's doing these days.
I'm sure
I think all of them have transitioned out of acting.
Yeah, they're like the Shane McDermotts of ninja movies.
I hope so. I hope they're all successful.
Yeah, me too.
Shane McDermott.
Yeah, but I as a kid watching Knuckles Up, I totally had a crush on the female that was in the third one, the Joe, the Indian girl. I was like, okay. Excuse me, the Native American girl. I was like, oh, all right, here we go. They have the whole dance sequence.
Everybody's weirdly back to just saying Indian. I think we've come full circle where it's like, I guess that's just, it's like they're owning it now. Well, in the same way, I don't know.
I say it as a term of like, I'm not talking about Indian as like from the country of India. I'm saying
that's
like
why I usually say Native
American,
just to avoid the confusion, because we do live in South Carolina, which has a huge Indian population.
Yes,
people from India. To be specific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We have a very famous one from here as well. So
sounds so weird just to be like a famous one.
Yes,
I'm saying they a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move right along.
So so those 2 happen, and we eventually get to the 3rd movie in the franchise, but it was released as the 2nd movie in the franchise due to distribution.
Kickback, which just makes sense as the second in the franchise. So forever, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah,
I thought, if anything, they were like, oh, we can't, we're shooting them simultaneously. We can't, you know, child labor laws. We can only get Colt, apparently, because he's clearly the star of these movies.
Yes. He's got the emotional range. Yeah. I mean, the basketball scene.
I mean, he was always
in the first
favorite.
One. Yeah.
He's also usually, like, coated in blue whenever they're color schemed out. Mm-hmm. And, of course, you know, Double Dragon, Billy and Jimmy.
What's wrong with the blue one?
I'm blue, you're red.
Yeah.
What's wrong with the blue one?
Yeah.
We'll do Double Dragon one of these days.
Yeah, we should. Maybe whenever Chuck Hank and the San Diego Twins come out.
Oh, that'll be the pairing. Yeah. Or we'll revisit video game movies at some point, because we did Super Mario Brothers earlier.
We did, yeah.
Check out that episode. One of our more popular.
Double Dragon December.
All right, but what's the other?
Dragon the Bruce Lee story. Duh.
I can dig it.
Yeah. See?
So we might have just figured it out.
Synergy, baby.
It took us all week. There we go.
Anyway, so the 3rd film in the
Double Dragon December. It works.
Double Dragon.
It covers both titles.
Yes,
I love it.
Yeah,
couldn't have done it better myself.
Even a blind dog is right at least once a day. Finds its own ass at least once a day.
Okay.
And a broken clock. So the third movie, Noah, finds our trio of ninjas having aged up a bit,
yes,
but also being replaced. There's a new Rocky and there's a new Tum Tum.
Well, and they've morphed only slightly, which I mean, Rocky has morphed.
Right.
To me, again, having not rewatched the other two along with this, but I kind of looked at him. He was more like the all-American, good, straight-laced one, if you will.
To me, he's a
college boy.
It's
even though they're kids. And then Colt's the wild card,
right.
the wild stallion, you
right.
know, the bad boy.
And Tum Tum's a Michelangelo comedic relief.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
This one, they morph Rocky into a little more of just like an out and out, like a square.
Kind of.
They try and make him a little bit of a nerd.
Yeah.
It's a weird pivot. And I gotta wonder, as that actor who's recast as him, like, if you've seen the previous movies, you're like, yo, what the fuck, man? Like,
yeah.
What's with this? Why do I gotta wear glasses? Like,
yeah.
What's
my favorite? It's almost as if someone had watched the other kickboxer. I think it's Kickboxer, but Sasha Mitchell took over after the first Kickboxer for Van Damme, and this kid reminds me of like what they want. Like, let's get a Sasha Mitchell type martial arts actor looking guy to be the older brother. Almost as if had the third one been a hit, it could have he could have done his own thing. Maybe, I don't know.
To be clear, I like the Rocky in this one.
I do too. I like them all,
I like the Tum Tum as well. I don't see now. I'm having a hard time remembering the previous Tum Tum.
Right.
I do want to go back to the first one. Yeah. I don't know if I'll get back to Knuckle Up as well. But
yeah.
Okay. So it's baseball season.
Yes. Everything's fine. Snyder's in jail.
As far as we know.
Native American.
Mention him.
The Native Americans are safe.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Wait a minute. Did Snyder die in the first one, or did he just get like they took him to jail? I can't remember.
I feel like it's probably something along those lines.
Right.
The cops show up and nab him. Their dad comes in at the last minute.
There's not a lot of it in this, but one of the things I do appreciate is that there's very clearly Victor Wong stuntmen going on in the first two movies.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the genius of this one, which I don't remember them doing too much in the previous ones, but of just like once they get to Japan, and even prior to that, they're just in cloaks, you know. Their faces are covered. So just cue the stuntman. And here was my immediate thought, okay? Because I did Sidekicks first, and then watched this afterwards. And I was shocked to say, I think the fight choreography, the stunt work, all of it, far superior in Three Ninjas.
Oh, yeah,
and
of
course.
course.
And Sidekicks. And I did not expect to... I of course remembered it being like slapsticky, because that's what I remember, like the comedic bits and everything. But it's like... But no, they do have sequences where it's like, no, they just like have stuntmen with like the ninja rap mask on. So, and it's like, you just buy it. You're like, whatever. Yeah, these are kids. Cool. And then there's some badass like choreography, and it's fairly competently shot.
Yeah.
And I feel like this one particularly, because they're going to Japan, and there's just like, there seems like there's a little bit more scope to it. And I think that's the mistake they made also, is they spent basically what the first one made on the second one. Right. Which is always, you don't double the budget. I'll tell you that.
On the third one.
You go, yeah. Well, then you get a Spider-Man 3 on your hands.
Right.
That's what happens with that. So no, you just notch it up just slightly. But I don't know how much of this was actually on location, but it feels like they went to Japan and shot some substantial stuff.
They either went to Japan or they went to Toronto. One of the two.
For sure.
I don't know.
But it has a little bit more scope to it. I don't recall particularly enjoying the score. I do love the like Native American music incorporated into Knuckles Up, particularly like the scenes where they dance.
The dance sequence, yeah.
But the music of this one, which I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, this is what 90s J-pop sounded like. Come to find out, they're all K-pop songs. Yeah. Every single one of them. None of this is Japanese at all. I was like, oh, okay.
Maybe they did go to South Korea.
Maybe. Yeah, you can look up the filming locations.
I'm going to.
Anyways, how do they get to Japan, though, Gavin? Please explain for the listeners who may or may not have actually spent the money to rent this one, because I don't believe it's streaming free anywhere. We did have to pay for this one on Prime. Did you just have this on DVD or something? How did you watch this?
I have this one on DVD and a 2-pack with something else.
But you don't have all three?
No. I don't even know if the third one has a DVD.
Why is there not a Blu-ray of the four of them?
Oh, this was an interesting first thing of trivia that popped up. Do you want to hear this?
What's that?
A number of high-level defectors from the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea have stated that Three Ninjas Kick Back was a childhood favorite of Kim Jong-un, now Supreme Chancellor of... Apparently so taken with the film that his father, Kim Jong-il, reportedly commissioned a remake with Korean actors.
Yeah, do you not want to see that?
I do. If somebody,
curious.
the next defector, can you smuggle it out of there, please? I'm trying to see whether I don't know if they have filming locations.
If you go to the main page, not in the trivia, but there's filming locations. If you're on IMDb, we can do this later. Do you want to tell them how they get to Japan, please?
Well, no. First of all, they've learned that there are 4 strands of rope, and when they're all working together as 4 strands of rope, they can achieve anything.
Is 4 strands of rope like a runner through the series, or is that something that is literally introduced in this one?
I think it's...
Is 4 strands of rope a thing?
Yeah, I think it's in the first one, and then
Okay.
it's definitely in this one. I don't know how much of it is going into the third one.
You know,
because each one of them
we're
has...
assuming in advance this is going to be a rousing success.
Yeah.
So, obviously, we're going to do another Ninja November, and maybe we'll get to another 3 Ninjas.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll bring it up. Okay, so yes, they've discovered their 4 strands of rope. Go on.
No, dude, all Japan, dude. They shot on location everywhere. Pretty awesome.
Well, I assume they did because they dropped, again, like 20 mil to shoot this one.
Yeah.
Compared to the budget of the first one, which
And
I think was like
this is
under
weirdly
10.
like... This one falls into the category, and I honestly forgot about it for a little while. This falls into my category of like, I want Japan in my movies in the early 80s and early 90s because I don't know what it was like.
Right.
You know? Like, I have a very good idea what, like, post-war Japan looked like. And I did, you know, when I toured the Edo Museum when I was there, God, almost 10 years ago now, it was... I got a sense of, like, this is what everything looked like. This is how they rebuilt after the bomb, all this other shit. And it's not really represented in Western cinema that much, like, what Japan is. There's, like, 5 movies that do it.
So I did, at USC, one of my film classes I took was a cross, whatever you call it.
I did it, but I did mine with
like
Chinese cinema.
It was a dual credit.
Right.
With, like, a Japanese language course, so it was a language credit as well as film credit. And we did a few, like, basically late 80s, early 90s, like, movies that were popular in Japan at the time, like adult comedies and dramas.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, because of the age we were when we were there, like, that sort of stuff was completely off our radar. If it was not geared towards kids, we didn't fucking have, we didn't know about it.
Right.
But, like, Tom Popo is one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
That's on HBO Max right now if you've never seen it. But, like, that one is all centered around, like, a truck stop and, like, the perfect bowl of ramen. And it's a wild fucking movie. It's got so much other, like, crazy cool shit in it.
And that would have been great for us because of the truck stop out the back of the base. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was moments like that. But I'm trying to remember a few of the other titles. But we watched some that I was just like, it wasn't quite popping. Like, the movies were okay, I should say. And then you see, like, post 90s into, I'm thinking, like, basically, like, Wong Kar-wai coming in, which is, like, mid 90s or early mid 90s, like Chungking Express and shit like that, like, pushing it in a completely different direction, and then going into the 2000s.
And I know there's that in their cinema. I'm specifically just thinking for us dumb Americans, like, what we can point to. And there's 4. There's Black Rain, there's Three Ninjas Kick Back, Mr. Baseball, and Rising Sun.
We watched Mr. Baseball in that class, by the way.
Dude,
and the teacher, who was from Japan, huge fan.
Of course.
Huge fan.
Tom Selleck plays baseball in Japan. with what's his face, Dennis
Haysbert.
Haysbert. How do you not? And the coach, the coach, who is that? He's famous. He was in. I think he was in Black Rain as well.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but yes.
I don't think it's a Watanabe. I don't know who that is.
Okay.
Yeah. So essentially,
speaking of baseball.
Right. Speaking of baseball, good way to sneak back in there. The boys have a baseball game against the Mustangs. They're the Dragons, right?
Yes.
Yes. And it's not going well. They're constantly in this like warring state of like, I could slay every child on this baseball diamond with my ninja abilities. But as Grandpa says, Colt, strength and restrain. You have to be strong enough to know you're in control of everything and not give into those desires just to just straight up ninja murder everyone here because you're mad. You got hormones. You're
right.
growing up. And the baseball game pretty much leads to a bunch of hijinks. There's, people throwing a pitcher throwing at somebody. There's like, sand in the hat.
Put sand in his helmet. They throw sand in his eyes.
Yeah.
There's beating up on Colt.
Yeah.
And at this point I was like, hey, you guys need to relax. And I forgot this catcher, total piece of shit.
Yes.
And the pitcher of the other team, of the Mustangs, these little shits, dude, they suck so hard. Okay.
Yes. I love when they get their comeuppance.
Colt's got his his anger issues going with that. Tum Tum's just obsessed with food, as he is in all of these movies.
Rocky
He's just worried about, let me know when the ice cream comes out.
Right.
And Rocky
is totally enamored
about the hormones with Lisa DiMarino. Lisa DiMarino. Yes.
Yeah. Which is still a play on the fact that, like, pretty much every movie, they're like, oh, Rocky loves the girl.
Exactly.
Like, he's into his girlfriend, Emily, that they have the tin can with. Then he likes the Native American girl, Joe. And, all this different stuff.
Same in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It keeps it going. I love that runner through all three films.
Dude, and when they're adults in our gritty reboot, like, Colt and Rocky can get into so much shit over, like, you always took my girls.
Yeah.
You always stole everyone away from me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be great, dude.
Yeah.
It's what everybody wants to see.
Of course.
True family drama.
Exactly.
Just age it up.
And basically, I don't know how this happens, but, sports and movies is a crazy thing. The umpire's basically like, I'm not having any of this. We're done.
This is bullshit.
We're going to come back here in a week, and we're going to finish this.
Yes.
He, lines them up and walks down the middle like a drill sergeant, explaining how terrible they are.
This umpire who has been smoking a cigar
yes.
the entire time.
And their father is in line. He is a fucking FBI agent, and he is being talked down to by this shit fucking umpire. Like, that is
we didn't even talk about Farty McGee, the kid who just, that is when you're just like, oh yeah, this is for kids. I forgot.
Yeah.
Just a nice big long fart joke. Like he knocks out the entire stadium.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so essentially, it's set that like in a week they're going to come back and they're going to finish this baseball game. It's too much. Everybody's got to cool off. They got a week. So Dad has to go out of town on business and, FBI business that's not named. And, they find out that Grandpa is going to Japan to receive an honor from this old dojo or someplace he used to live or work or whatever. Not kind of big
tournament.
Yeah, the tournament. He's going to the tournament because he won, and all that kind of stuff. And in all this, we get a smash cut to Japan, present day, and there's some, veiled assassin that is like not an assassin. He's just a thief, a ninja thief that's taking some sort of object, medallion, dagger, something from this, he's stealing it and he makes his escape via hang gliding, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, long story short, Grandpa's in Japan and the boys realize that like he's been in a car accident and he realized that the people that had come to his cabin and like tried to rob his cabin of something, they are probably going to go after him in Japan. So they have to come up with ninjanuity. Like they have to figure out a way to get to the airport and get to a flight to their parents.
Yes.
So of course they call on the phone. They get their tickets.
They do classic Home Alone 2 trick.
Yes. They do all this like we're gonna clean up real quick, but we're also gonna get ready real quick.
Props again to like the first one was a riff on the original Home Alone.
Right.
And now they're riffing on Lost in New York.
Right.
This is their Talk Boy. Yeah.
Exactly. And so they get that to, they fake buying tickets, and they basically make their way to Japan to go.
No problem.
Yeah.
No issues whatsoever.
3 minors. Listen, this is a pre 9/11 world. Okay. There's no TSA. There's no checks. These 3 kids show up. They got tickets to get on a plane. Put them on a plane.
Here's the other thing. Mori Shintaro. Mori Tanaka.
Yes.
Whatever his name may be. Yo, how fucking loaded is he that they could just, like, 3 tickets one way, and then when they come back later and they bring the girl with them, like,
yeah,
how loaded is he that he's just back and forth to Japan, dude?
I think
has he got some, like, rare exports business going on?
The fare back was obviously paid for by the bad guy, and that exchange rate, bro. That's what that is.
Okay.
That's that, like, late post-'80s, mid-'90s inflation boom. Clinton's balanced the budget, and we're living large for a little bit before the .com era starts. So he got money. Like, I mean, Maury got a place in the hills, straight paid for.
Yeah,
he was totally
seemingly has, like, 30,
let's be
40
real,
acres. Just
let's be real.
There.
He's a fucking retired FBI, like, hitman. Like, he's just wet work. Like, we need him. Call him in for a couple hits, keep him around. That's literally
by another name.
That's exactly
Egg Shin.
Why is his name? Yeah, Egg Shin, dude. That's totally what it is. He was Egg Shin in a previous life. Yeah. Like,
okay,
how do you think that the mom and dad met? It was totally because the fucking dad was his handler. He was like, "Oh, I have this daughter too, by the way." "Oh, really? What's her name?" Bam, there's the kids.
Dude, give me the prequel and the Gritty reboot. Let's just take over the franchise.
Yeah.
Let's see if TriStar wants to part ways.
Yeah. Dude, we totally do, like, a wet behind the ears young FBI agent has to go, like, wrangle in and deal with this, like, this older, not very old. He's not old yet. Middle-aged Japanese badass assassin. And it's an East meets West comedy a la Rush Hour. But, like, the guy doesn't learn anything. Like, he's just like, he doesn't, like, no, I'm going to use my gun. Like, I'm not going to use this ninjutsu stuff. And you dovetail into, like, the romance with the guy's daughter. And through, like, that and learning, he realizes, like, you know what? Like, I think I could work with this guy. I think we could be a good team. You'll throw in Snyder a little bit as, like, this was another guy that, like, was on their radar but wasn't really on their radar. Maybe he worked for the FBI, double-crossed them, stole some state secrets along with some weapons.
Or maybe it's Snyder's mentor. Snyder's on the come up, and his mentor is Thomas Ian Griffith.
Yes,
and he's the actual bad for this movie.
Right.
But then we know that Snyder's going to take over.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. And Snyder's his son. That simple. Boom. And at the end, it's like, I didn't respect you, Mr. FBI lawman, but now I do. I've come to learn, and I would be honored if you would take my daughter's hand in marriage. And it's like, it ends with, like, them together married, and they're going to have kids. Smash cut to the Gritty reboot. And it's like, the big head honcho from the last one, Thomas Ian Griffin, still alive. We don't kill him. And he's still mourning the loss of his son, Snyder. And he's a little bit older now.
He hunts down Tum Tum.
Right. He
rips out his trachea.
Right.
On camera.
You realize
we show it all.
you realize that he was secretly funding the land tycoons from the second, third movie.
Oh my god.
It was him the entire time. We do a big, like, James Bond, it was me the entire time, Blofeld fucking smash cut. And yes, the first scene is literally him, like, I don't know his real name. There's Michael. It's what? Michael. What are their real names?
Oh, I don't fucking know. I have no idea.
It's Wesley, Michael,
dude,
John.
Okay.
Wesley, Michael, and John? Is that it?
It does not matter. They're Rocky, Colt, and Tum Tum.
Yeah, they are. But, like, that's the whole thing. Like, he tracks them down. He uses his real government name. And that's how you know, like, shit's gotten real. No. Jeffrey, Samuel, and Michael.
I think when Tum Tum has his trachea ripped out on camera, that's when we're going to know shit has gotten real.
Right, because there will be food, like jelly beans or something that just comes out. Yes, yeah,
It writes itself.
He's just a random guy going into a gas station, getting some jelly beans.
He has to have gotten, like, very fat.
Yes. I'm thinking, like,
he's, like, vaguely kept up his training.
I'm thinking
but
Bobby
he gets
Moynihan.
winded easily. That's how he's defeated so quickly.
I'm thinking Bobby Moynihan. Tell me Bobby Tell me Bobby Moynihan doesn't work for you in this role. It's so perfect.
Okay, then like Chris Evans has got to be Rocky.
Right.
Clearly. And who's Colt?
It's
Barry Keoghan.
Sure. Yeah. That works.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Sold.
Why don't we just go balls of the wall and make him Keegan Michael Key? Let's just do that.
Okay.
That'll be the new Colt. He'll just randomly change him to like, that'd be perfect.
Okay.
We'll get right in that soon. Anyway.
We don't have to go through the whole plot, but basically they end up in Japan. I do want to highlight Nurse Tanaka.
Yes.
Okay. So I remember watching this movie on VHS in Japan at one of the very first, possibly the first ever sleepover I had, where I had a friend over. Mm-hmm. I don't remember who that friend was, but I do remember that we watched this. And I don't know if we've ever discussed this one before, but I remembered it right before it was about to happen. This movie has a Dennis the Menace, Christopher Lloyd type moment for me.
Right.
And so Nurse Tanaka, who they've already, was always just a little scary to me because I didn't get the comedy of her and Grandpa interacting. I thought I was more just scared for him. She was very intense. But the boys show up and they're about to get there, and she's like, oh, okay, yeah, I could take care of your boys. That's the least I could do. Like, make sure they get to the tournament. She's like, my replacement's coming in, Nurse Tanaka, and in comes what, again, my child brain did not process, of course, is just a very, very large Japanese man in a nurse's outfit with like crazy pancake makeup on, a giant syringe, and just a giant, like, haunting, goofy smile.
Yes.
And again, scene's broad daylight. Mm-hmm. There's a music cue.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty terrifying. But that, as a kid, was one of those, I had to leave the room. And I remember, like, whoever my friend was over, whatever, they wanted to watch that one, and I was, like, excited to watch it, because it's like, oh, I love this movie, and then it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I love this, but there's this one part that's really scary, and I don't like it.
I feel like I remember that. Yeah,
happened,
I remember this
happening.
I remember
I had to, like, go leave the room, and I was, like, embarrassed because I, like, had a friend over, but
you're not old enough to think, like, I just got to get up and go to the bathroom. No, don't pause it. You don't, that's not in your purview. You're just like, I got to get out of this room.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was I was fucking terrified. And so I knew it was coming this time, and I was like, oh, of course, now as you know, an adult, I get the comedy of that scene. It's actually pretty fucking funny.
Yeah.
But still, that isolated image of, like, Nurse Tanaka, and then he comes through the door, is just terrifying. Yeah. And it's like one of those things that's just embedded in my brain, where it's like, if I walked into a room and saw a 7-foot-tall Japanese man dressed in a nurse's outfit, I would shit my pants.
Yeah.
And I would run away in terror. Yeah. So yeah, just one of those little tiny moments that's buried in a kid's movie that, like, you would never think of. I think we did an episode on that for an Arctober. Childhood scares, like, Hook.
Oh, God, don't even talk about Hook, dude. That's,
But anyways, we talked about weird stuff like that. But yeah, Nurse Tanaka definitely goes on the list there.
Yeah.
Okay, so they get to the tournament. They see this badass in white who's kicking everybody's ass. Mm-hmm. Colt somehow just, like, manages to steal a dude's competition blues and jumps in there and does get his ass kicked. And then, of course, the reveal is, Colt got beat by a girl? What?
Yeah.
What? And then her mom, possibly the coolest mom ever, is like, oh yeah, 3 young American boys. You don't have a place to stay? Obviously, you can come stay with me.
And my teenage daughter. Yes, please.
So we get a montage.
She's a tomboy. She could, but
exactly.
But you got to think, the mom knows, like, if they try anything, she could fucking kick their ass. Like, it's not a big deal.
There's the whole, she sucks at baseball.
Right. She's
the only girl on her team. It's like, we'll teach you baseball, you teach us karate.
Right.
So we get a montage.
Of course.
And we got some great, again, K-pop tunes, just blasting throughout here.
I remember
solid jams.
Remember one K-pop song where they're, like, touring It might be right when they just get to there because there's a robber and Rocky manages to like throw a baseball at him and calls him to like throw the bag and Tum Tum catches it. Yes. You're out. Of course. And also the nice old lady. Nice old lady lets them ride in her limousine to like fucking view the sights.
We didn't even bring this up. Yes, that's how they get to the hospital. Mm-hmm. I had this thought immediately. Just one of those things that does not occur to you as a kid. There is no possible way that there is a baseball team where all three of these kids are playing.
No.
The age difference. The idea that you would have Tum Tum, little ass Tum Tum, catching for a kid like twice his age, essentially, is insane.
The only thing I can think of is if it's a Cub Scout league.
I mean, yeah, if it's some
or like a church league,
weird like
or an AAU league that isn't sanctioned.
Yeah, but it's just like the Tum Tum should be playing like T-ball or kid or machine pitch.
Yeah,
he should not be playing kid pitch.
Yeah,
he's too little.
True,
it's dangerous, and he's catching these kids. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Anyways,
you can argue that the pitcher is his brother.
Took me right out of the movie.
Yeah,
I'm just let's just be real, okay.
I mean, I would have thought
get into it after that point.
I would have thought the umpire smoking would have done it for you, but yeah.
Okay, so montage, etc. They're going to present the dagger,
right?
But old Sab Shimono, what is his name in this?
I thought it was Koga.
It is Koga,
right?
But the place is Koga as well. Right?
Yeah, like he's like,
but he is Koga.
Yeah. Like
okay.
James Hook is Neverland.
But not Kogashuko.
No. Nobody wants to party with Victor Geisman anymore, Noah. It's Kogashuko.
Dude, the idea that his name was Victor Geisman before, and then he changed it to Kogashuko, is insane.
Yeah. That's the one line I remember Robert Patrick saying. Nobody wants to party with Victor Geisman anymore. Okay. My name is Kogashuko. What? Okay,
shout
whatever.
out to Satori once again. We're done with that part of the episode, though. Okay. They've said they're going to call home at a certain time. And, of course, Mom calls while they're in the midst of a fight.
Right.
Passing the phone around. It's a great little bit. And basically, I mean, it slows down for a bit when they get imprisoned in the compound.
Yeah.
But other than that, we're pretty much into like an extended third act where eventually they find out the dagger and the sword have to go into this ancient tomb. They find it basically in the final moments. Koga realizes the error of his ways, and he's the only villain in the series to,
change his ways.
Yeah, and they leave as friends.
Yeah,
on good terms, and the day is saved. There's no real like grand villain or final fight sort of thing because of that. But you don't really mind because you got the baseball game.
Right, which they're one of my favorite bits, and it's one of those things that I always have to remind myself of. Not really always, because I am smart. I do have a college education, but the movie does play on the idea of like, oh wait, it's tomorrow. Like it's Saturday here, yeah, but it's Friday back home. We got to catch a flight.
Time differences.
Yeah. And they literally make it like, the smash cut of like,
umpire's about to call this game.
Play ball. And they're like, they run in. And of course, now that they know they've mastered ninja, they bring the girl back with them. And they've, just randomly added another player to their roster.
Not a problem at all.
No, yeah. Obviously, this isn't league sanctioned, and she shows everybody up. And when the bully wants to like confront him afterwards, she just like does a straight up flip over him and just like, that's the end of the movie, right? Like
pretty much. Yeah.
You just a blackout and you hear a bunch of punches landing and the bully being like and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it truly was. They kicked back.
Yeah.
They definitely kicked back.
Mm-hmm. They didn't kick back a lot. Like they were doing a lot of shit
in the Sidekicks portion, but in the opening of Sidekicks, when they do the lock arms and spin around,
yes,
a totally impractical move, but
yeah,
I told Veronica that you and I definitely recreated that as children, and she thought that was very funny. So
Oh, of course.
We should totally try and do that again.
Because when you're a child, you can kick just like Van Damme. I mean, straight up,
100%.
like 1 foot in the air.
So much more flexible.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you get old. Arthritis starts setting in.
So, honestly, I had a great time with both of these. They both held up.
Yeah.
As far as my, always got my guard up when nostalgia's at play, especially with the kid movies, but these both, they were fun rewatches. Enjoyed them both. And like I said, I might go back to the old Three Ninjas franchise. We're going to work on our reboot script.
Yeah.
And Sidekicks, it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
Karate Kid Light, Ultra Light, Natural Light. Karate Kid,
Natty
Natural
Light.
Light.
Yeah.
Yes.
Natty Light, Karate Kid. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, definitely not Coors Banquet beer. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is what old Chuck would drink.
Absolutely.
Any old
Seems like
Tiger
an old
Chuggy.
Milwaukee kind of guy.
Yeah, I could see that.
Okay. Well, while we have the garage band actually working in our favor, I don't want to jinx it, but we've got a solid 2x2 episode. We did an hour and a half.
Yes.
I'm pleased. So it's all gravy from here, as they say in the podcasting world. And now we're...
Is that really what they say? All right.
Yeah.
When you got it in the can and you can just keep going, it's all gravy.
It's all
Got it.
gravy, yes.
Much like our Thanksgiving. Actually, there was no... I don't remember there being a lot of gravy at Thanksgiving.
I mean, there was gravy, and it was very good.
Okay.
Good times all around. Good stuff. Okay, so it's been like a month since we've recorded. We haven't talked about a lot of films in between. Wherever you want to start, I'm just going to throw some rewatches at you just to get these out of the way. So, of course, we did Sidekicks and Three Ninjas Kick Back because we just did an episode on them. I rewatched The Sparks Brothers, which is now available on Netflix. That's the Edgar Wright documentary on the band Sparks from earlier this year. One of my favorite movies of the year, and it's on Netflix, so go check it out if you haven't already. I watched Promising Young Woman for the second time.
That was a new one for me.
First. It was on HBO. Get your thoughts in just a sec. Titan, another movie that I'll be talking about a lot towards the end of the year. Watched that for a second time. And revisited another recent Cronenberg, A Dangerous Method, the Freud, Carl Jung movie, the third of the Vigo collaborations, and we got the fourth one coming next year, so very exciting stuff.
Eastern Promises Part 2?
No, Crimes of the Future. It's a new take on his first short. I don't know if he had done stuff prior to that, but it's one of his earliest short films. Yeah, sounds exciting.
Agreed.
What did you think of Promising Young Woman? We're now, a full year late to the conversation, but...
I mean, I gotta go check more of her stuff out because,
I mean, Emerald Fennell, the writer-director, has not done anything else.
No, the lead lady.
Carey Mulligan?
Yeah.
You act like you just discovered her.
Wall Street. That's about it.
Drive.
Yeah, I forget about her in Drive.
Never Let Me Go. I know you love that book.
I have never watched it. I saw it was up on.
I hear the adaptation's okay.
Yeah.
What were the other big Carey? An Education with old Sarsgaard. That was her kind of breakout role.
Okay.
But yeah, Promising Young Woman was kind of like a comeback, if you will, because she kind of, she's kind of fallen off the map a bit there. But the same year, last year, she had Wildlife, I believe, which I still need to catch. That's Paul Dano's directorial debut. But it's her and Jake Gyllenhaal. It's kind of a coming-of-age story, but they're the parents in it. Yeah, she's been around. I had fingers crossed for her to take Best Actress, but we knew it was Franny's to lose. So
right.
What are you gonna do? But yeah, I feel like people have seen it now. So if you want to go spoilers, did you expect it to go there?
Oh yeah, of course. I was hoping it would.
Okay.
Because it's full circle. When the minute that you have Bo Burnham,
maybe the most
Burnham?
genius casting.
Yes.
Of in recent memory, in terms of the way it plays on how you feel about him and then the turn that character ultimately takes is so... It's as devastating to you as an audience as it is to her, because you're just like, oh, man!
But, like, he was just there.
The fact that he was there and he never said anything about it, and he's, in her mind, he's just as complicit as all these other people who just, like, watched it happen, knew that something...
I will say, probably my favorite scene, the Connie Britton scene, fucking amazing.
Oh, fantastic stuff.
Perfect. I love that. And now, you know...
Okay, this is what I've talked about most with people after they've watched it, which is I feel like the way it was marketed versus what it actually was not a frustration, but a surprise. So when I sit down in the theater, I'm expecting this, essentially, I'm expecting a rape revenge movie.
Yeah,
we've seen a billion of those, and I was like, oh, this is a riff
the
on
Eastwood girl.
Eastwood girl.
There was a girl with the last name was Eastwood, I thought.
Oh,
Something that just came out with her a couple years ago. Keep talking. I'm going to look it up.
Okay. But that's what I thought we were going to get. And so when the movie opens, and, you know, it takes a bit as it builds through, you see her encounters with the different men and these, like, setup scenarios where she feigns being intoxicated, etc. But I thought it was, like, she's killing these dudes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as the movie goes along, and it's like, no, she's kind of just giving them a reality check and, like, just kind of wants people to acknowledge what they've done or what they were contemplating doing. And when they do, a la the McLovin guy,
yeah,
they can get let loose. And so you have the Connie Britton scene where it's like, she didn't actually put that daughter in jeopardy, but she uses the threat of it to make her fucking point. And you're like, okay, this is not quite what I was expecting. So I'm a little off kilter and I don't know what to expect. So when we build to that finale at the bachelor party, like, in retrospect, of course, I'm like, oh, she knew she was never going to leave there. Like, she went there intending for that to maybe play out the way it did. But there's a huge part of me, and people in the theater do. I mean, you could hear a fucking pin drop, but in that sequence, the extended sequence where she is, like, snuffed out, I was like, oh, just, you know, you're such a good actress, just play dead. Like, just pretend that you're already dead, and he'll, like, let the weight off of you. And I kept waiting for, like, oh, it's going to go in this other direction. And the fact that it then makes you sit in it and sit in the dark comedy of, like, you killed the hooker? What is this, the 90s?
Yeah.
Like, all of that stuff, and you're just like, oh, this is so, like, gross and funny and, like, you know, darkly hilarious. And, like, I can't believe this is where we're ending up at. And then the grand finale of, like, you know, everybody kind of getting their justice.
Surprise, bitch.
I heard a lot of people who seem to have a more negative reaction, even people who were, like, pro somewhat on the quote unquote, like, the politics of the movie, had a huge issue with, like, oh, but you can't just have, like, the cops come in at the end and that's the savior, because we all know the cops don't actually solve anything in these cases. I'm like, but in the context of the movie, the whole thing is like, oh, well, there wasn't enough evidence and there was nobody to speak up for her before. Now she has, like, cold, hard proof, basically. Right. So it's like, people were like, well, that kind of undermines the whole ending. I'm like, I didn't get, I found it satisfying in all the right ways. I thought it totally played, great visual style throughout. Love the needle drops. Just, like, great vibes all around. I can't wait to see what she does next. Very, very strong debut. Glad you enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it on the rewatch front for me. I have a mountain of new stuff, TV and movie wise. But anything that jumps to your mind?
If we want to go with rewatches,
I mean, we don't have to. We can talk about whatever you want.
Well, no, I don't have that many rewatches. A lot of them are new.
Well, throw them out, and I'll see if there's one worth chatting.
Black Rain.
Still need to watch Black Rain.
So
Never
fucking
seen
good.
It start to finish.
So fucking good, man. Mystery Men.
Did you listen to Ridley Scott's episode?
I did.
Now? Dude, I mean,
I fucking love that dude, man.
I know, for a guy who I'm, like, usually kind of, like, middle of the road on in general, like, I've always been like, I prefer Tony. I think Ridley's a little overrated, etc. But as an interview, just a killer, dude. Mm-hmm. So funny and just candid, and, like, dude's, what is he, 82 now? He doesn't give a fuck. He gives literally zero fucks, and it is so entertaining.
MFA, that was the name of that movie. Francesca Eastwood.
Okay.
It's like Natalie Late something is the director, and it's basically the same thing, but it's like it's 2 years before Promising Young Woman, but I think it is that darker. Like I've seen trailers, I started watching it, and it is that whole like, well, it's instead of like that events happen, the actual like event that sparks everything has happened. It's a bless you. It's a here's the event, here's how it plays out, here's what happens, which take a little bit. That's another one I was reminded of. Yeah, Ridley Scott, man, Interview. Dope.
Yes. Okay. So Black Rain, yes, on my list to finally actually sit down and give it properly a watch. Also seemed like it would be a good 2x2 candidate at some point.
Yeah.
So.
Mystery Men was a rewatch.
Word.
Army of Darkness.
Okay. You know, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the news, but we are getting a proper new Evil Dead movie with Bruce Campbell.
Apparently. Oh, good. Yeah.
Not a TV series.
I mean, I did watch all of the TV series during October.
I should do that as well.
Waterworld. Rewatch
I don't know why Waterworld's been in the ether, dude, but I had the thought that I need to rewatch it recently. Is it streaming? Where is
it popped up on Netflix. Yeah.
It's on Netflix.
That's why I just randomly was like, I'm gonna put this on, and I'll probably fall asleep. And I'm like midway through, and I'm like,
I mean, literally,
this is good.
The only shame about it being November now, December, is we can only do so many more 2x2s before the end of the year.
Right.
But right there, I'm like, dude, Waterworld.
Yeah.
And, that'd be cool.
I did all 3 TMNT movies.
Okay.
And the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movies. I did a lot of ninja stuff, man.
You went all in.
I did.
On Ninja November.
I did.
Should we make it a thing where next year, right after October, we're only allowed to watch ninja movies for 1 month?
And let me see if there's any others in here. I rewatched Murphy's Law with Bronson. I think it was on Max.
It's a new round of Bronsons all over the place now. Prime has a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And the only other thing I've been rewatching, it's just a bit of TV. I've gone back through all of Boy Meets World.
Hell yeah.
And I'm midway through season 5. Sean's dad hasn't died yet,
but he's
on the way. It's literally, what I watch, because like Disney does this thing, they'll give you 4, and then after 4, it's like, now you got to keep pressing this button.
Right.
And I like it. I appreciate it. Because the other night, I fell asleep.
Yeah, you don't want to fall asleep.
And I jumped ahead, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't remember any of this. And I had to go back to the second Center episode, where it's like, okay, we're done with that. We're not gonna hear from Turner ever again, and
You said the second Center
episode. It's a two-parter.
It's a two-parter. Yeah. That's right, because he wrecks at the end of the first episode,
right?
And then he's in the hospital.
But the last one I watched last night before I went to sleep was the ski lodge trip.
Oh, with Lauren.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So
we should scan around, because if there's not a Boy Meets World podcast, I mean, what are we doing?
We can take it season 1 through 3 as chunks, but then I think 4 or 5 we start there and we get in the nitty gritty episode, because there's some good shit in there.
As soon as they're out of, to me, as soon as they're in what you would consider junior high, I guess.
Yeah.
As soon as they transition out of as soon as they get to the new intro, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The first non-kiddie show intro.
Right.
Those seasons forward.
Where he's running down the stairs.
Basically.
Or is it just the blues playing, where they're at Chubby's hanging out? And that's the blues stuff playing. Yeah, that's
those are classics. When they first transition into high school, and they're just every episode is just trying to date girls and misadventures, and Sean's the cooler guy, and all of that stuff. That's all cool.
Oh, dude, I love the Topanga gets her haircut. He's like, "Hi, I don't have much off, but my hair does this." Yeah. Just the shit that if you're watching that, and I feel like we were removed from it somewhat just because of where we went to school. But if you're watching that in the 90s, it is high school. It is what you worry about, but it also totally isn't at the same time.
Oh,
it's this weird niche show, and to me it has some of Alan Matthews, one of the best written TV fathers of all time. You get Bill Daniels in there being, Bill Daniels. Yeah.
Is there a better mentor in the history of television?
And the shift from oh, I'm Eric. I'm like the good-looking older brother to like I'm the
Joe
dweeb,
College,
the
a little.
Yeah.
Well, initially he's just like the all-American boy,
Right.
And then he's the all-American boy who's a little bit of a dunce, and then by the end of it is a full-on like sketch comedy character.
Yeah.
And like
I love it. It was a perfect.
Will
arc.
Friedle is like
Yeah.
fantastic.
And I mean, it's one of like watching it now. I went through the whole like I'm 18, I'm leaving, and the whole like Eric, 18 years in the same room, and like you know we don't know each other. We're moving out, and I was like, man, that's exactly how I felt when Noah like moved out. It's weird. It's weird how it connects to so many things, but it also is its own thing, and it's just this nice. It's just this nice nostalgia that you can just watch. Like it just
Literally making me want to start a rewatch.
I mean,
right now.
like I caught the Witches episode with Candace Bergen and like the 40s episode where they go back in time.
Candace Cameron Burr. Candace Bergen.
Yes, Candace
was
Bergen.
never
She was
on
the oldest
Boys
witch.
Rock.
Yes, she was. She was like the head witch coven lady.
No, she was.
You never saw her. You just heard her off screen.
Okay.
Yeah. DJ from Full House was a witch. Okay.
Yeah.
Enough said. And then of course, the end of the episode, he's with Melissa Joan Hart on the balcony. And I noticed that the very
episode.
Right. Well, yeah, because the very next episode is the 40s episode with the war.
Yeah.
And they had the cat from
Yeah.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch that was like, and I'm thinking like he was moving through every episode of the Friday night lineup that night, and even they go like a awesome weird, like a really dope meta because they have the episode where Corey wants to hang out with Topanga while she's babysitting, and the little kid's like, it's the Friday night lineup. Yeah. And he's like, hey, the dweeby kid's digging himself a bigger hole. You got to come see Corey. And it's like, it plays with itself. It knows what it is, but it also like still wants to do something different than I mean, what other teenage sitcoms are on at that point that have stood the test of time like this, and two, I mean, culture relevant. Saved by the Bell's done by then. The college years are over with, and I don't think there's another
Saved by
show.
the Bell is like it's like a fantasy land. It's like so.
Have you watched the new?
No, I haven't. No, I know people have told me it's.
Oh my god, dude!
Incredible.
They play up the fact that Bayside is this weird like. It is so, dude, you have to, they put new episodes up now. I don't know if those are on the premium and they got to wait because for a while it was just premium to watch the first round of episodes they have. And they announced some mid-November, they're going to have new ones. So I don't know if those are behind the subscription wall or not, but just the idea that like Zach Moore, because there's another one I'm going to say with my new watches for TV, that they bill it as like, he had a $70 parking ticket and he wanted to run for governor. And he's like, after I married my smoking hot wife, I became a lawyer. And they have him from Franklin and Bash. Like, that's him as a lawyer. And then he becomes Governor Zach. And randomly at like an event, somebody's like, why don't you just have all the kids from these, low-end schools just go to Bayside? And he's like, yeah, hey, wait, that's a good idea. Does that guy want to be governor? He does not need to be governor. Yeah, they can do that. It's Jesse's like an overbearing, like...
Is Haskins in it?
No, it's literally everybody. They do kindly.
No Lisa. No Bella.
Yes, she is. She makes a cameo.
They let Lord Voorhees.
She's in Paris as a fashion designer, and they are so happy that Screech and Kevin are living on the International Space Station. They don't have to deal with all the craziness going on.
Oh, that's sweet of them.
That was very nice of them, especially after that book he wrote. Yeah. But Zach and Kelly are married. They have a son, Mac Morris. Slater's the fucking athletics director, and kind of whatever. And it's just like these inner city kids.
Where's Tori in all of this?
I don't. Maybe she shows up. I don't know.
Dude,
that'd be great.
That's the equivalent of like bringing Allie in season 3 of Cobra Kai. Is like they bring in Tori. Yeah. Or no, better yet, Stacy Carosi. Is that right?
Do you really think Leah Remini wants to be on there?
Dude,
you think
she wants to be on there.
She needs the work.
She's had that Scientology show for how many years?
I know. They do a big job. Like Bayside is this magical place that like just hasn't been touched by time because they like, wait a minute, y'all go to a sit down restaurant every day in the middle of class. Yeah, doesn't that cost money? Well, yeah. It's like
you never see them ever exchange any currency with Max. Yeah,
he's in it. Ed, was it Ed? I can't remember what his name is.
I don't know his name, but
yeah, he's in it. Ed Alonso.
But they're not bringing back like Milo or.
No.
They're not doing deep cuts.
Well, that's Good Morning Miss Bliss. That's not Saved by the Bell.
I mean, but that would be deep cuts.
Is Haley Mills still alive? She passed away.
I don't. I don't know.
If she's still alive, she'd be great for like Zach's mom, aged up now.
Yeah.
But they, you know, what they need to do. They need to have it like the next like Zach has to go actually campaign, and it's Professor Lasky that's running against him for governor.
Dude.
Tell me that would not be great.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring back Lasky. Well, dude, Patrick Fabian, I don't know if do you watch Better Call Saul?
No.
He's been on Better Call Saul the whole run.
Really?
He's incredible. He's so good.
Yeah. Well, because I watched the college years.
Forever, I mean, for literally the first... the first, like, several seasons of Better Call Saul, I was just like, that's Professor Lasky. And then I was like, all right, I guess it's Patrick Fabian, because he has the other thing that made me go like, dude's got something out of nowhere. It was so far removed from Saved by the Bell, but was Last Exorcism. When that came out, I was like,
yeah,
this guy's fucking dope. Then he shows up on Better Call Saul, and he, like, just steadily fucking kills it.
Yeah. And I mean,
cannot wait for that show.
Yeah, and because I'd watched it, and you know, in my mind's eye, the college years was a big thing, and it's weird that it's only like 13 episodes.
Yeah.
Because it feels like I felt like I never watched all of them, but as I'm running back through it, I'm like, oh shit, I watched all of these multiple times. Like there is not.
No, you're watching them like on TBS in the morning, and you're thinking like, oh, I must have missed a chunk of these. Like that's why I keep seeing the same episodes. Like, no, that's all there is.
Yeah, because when they tried to move them to primetime and they weren't on Saturday mornings, the ratings were shit.
And we forget Honeymoon in Vegas, right?
Right. Well, see, I was going to go to that, but by the time I got to it, it was like, wait a minute, the actual new one is available for everybody to watch with all the episodes? Hell yeah. And I haven't finished all of the first round, but it's you as a fan, you would love it because all of them are producers on it. So I love that they've taken that tone of like, we know this show was like not like it was bullshit. Like it's not real, but we're going to play it up as like in this real world where there are big problems. Bayside is this beacon of like how great we are. Like Slater's openly about like, we haven't beaten Valley in like 15 years. You know, I can't get a person to do this and that. And like, the kids that are coming from the underprivileged schools are like, oh, this is the time where you like make a speech to me because you think you know me and like you can change this.
Is it about the kids?
Yeah,
or is it?
It's both. It's a nice mix.
So
like,
is Zach like stopping time or is Mac stopping time?
No, the Latino girl that moves in, she's stopping time.
To comment on how shitty everybody is.
Right.
Okay.
You know?
I'll check it out.
It's worth it. It's not enough for me to say you ought to like get a premium subscription to it to watch new episodes. I don't know what other shows they have that are only streaming on there. Obviously Halloween would have been a good enough reason to get it, but it's definitely worth watching as an original thing that's just on that. So,
okay. While we're in the TV realm, I got a laundry list here, but I'm going to try and cherry pick.
Okay.
By the way, this is how long it's been since we've talked about some of this, because some of it was pre-Arctober,
right?
And we had to put stuff on pause. But I know we both loved Reservation Dogs, which I don't know that we ever said out loud after we had finished.
I finally got Mom to try and start it.
Also on FX, though, in between earlier when we were having mic trouble, you mentioned Donald Logue appearing in Three Ninjas Knuckle Up.
Right.
Do you watch What We Do in the Shadows?
No.
Please do, first of all. FX on Hulu.
Okay.
3 seasons deep. I don't know if you ever saw the movie when it first came out.
I watched it like...
You don't have to have seen the movie. You can start the show cold. In fact, it's probably better if you do, because there are some kind of like repeat jokes, but not, it's its own thing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's brilliant, and the joke won't play as great now because I've already set it up, but they're constantly revealing, like, oh, this person's a vampire. Like, this person in the real world is a vampire. And the latest edition of that in season 3 was Donald Logue shows up, and he's basically like, yeah, after Blade, they just kind of jumped me in, and I really like the lifestyle, so this is what I do now. And he's a painter. He paints portraits of other vampires and shit. You would love it, dude. The cameos alone, but just
I'll get into that. And I gotta get back into baskets.
Oh, Dude, Baskets is another one that I'm like, yeah, I think I'm in the midst of season 2. I need to get back to as well. But What We Do in the Shadows season 3 was incredible. 9 Perfect Strangers, which I wrapped. Again, these are so old.
I need to do that too.
I don't even recommend it personally.
Really?
Do what you want to do. Scenes from a Marriage on HBO started out very, very strong. Still great performances in it, but it was a little bit of a letdown by the end. Why the Last Man? I did not finish. I know that you did, I believe. Mm-hmm. And of course, we know it's not getting another season.
Wherever they shop it, if it winds up somewhere, I'll watch it.
If they do, in fact, greenlight a season 2 somewhere, then I will finish season 1.
Yeah.
But I refuse to make the investment. And
in the words of
just to have it.
Is in the words of the little brother from My Brother and Me, Dee Dee, don't hold your breath.
Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. Okay. One of my biggest recommends for you, HBO Max. I don't know if we've talked about it. It's called The Other Two. It started out on Comedy Central, if I'm not mistaken. Migrated to HBO Max for season 2, which just aired several months ago, but we just now caught up to it. Mm-hmm. Basic premise is there is a new Justin Bieber, essentially, but Bieber when he started, 14-year-old YouTube singing sensation. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he hits it big. He's about to be the next giant kid celebrity, and he has 2 older siblings. They're the other 2.
Oh God.
They're both in their 30s. One is an aspiring / failed actor. The other one is an aspiring / failed influencer, media sort of person, whatever. Anyways, Molly Shannon is their mom. Ken Marino is the Bieber figure's manager. It's one of the best comedies I've seen in a while.
Okay.
That sounds weird to say because we're gifted with a lot of great comedies right now with Dave and Hacks and Pen 15 and lots of other great things. But this is right up there in that pantheon, particularly season 2. I love the first season, but I think it takes an even further jump. But it's got those kind of inside baseball laughs of I know this doesn't hit for everybody, but you would you would love it, brother.
Okay.
The Other Two. That's on HBO Max. Highly recommend.
Okay.
Midnight Mass we did manage to talk about during October, so I'm going to skip over that one. I think we briefly addressed Squid Game. Did you ever finish Squid Game?
Of course. I finished it the week I started it.
Okay, I can't remember if we talked about it in depth at all.
I don't think we did.
We're way past the phenomenon. I mean, we both enjoyed it, but I don't think either one of us were oh my God, earth-shattering. And I think that's because we've had varying degrees of exposure to Korean cinema prior to this. I feel it is way more
talked about
revelatory for people who were oh, this thing just showed up on Netflix and have no context for it. If you will.
And I mean, I just appreciate that, most people have seen it. They may want to talk about it, want to do it. Nobody's I feel some celebrities are taking it a bit far with I've heard people oh, they're having a Squid Game themed party and shit like that.
People completely missing the point.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's one of the for sure. Yeah, it's read the room. I feel that's just the easiest thing to say to anybody when it comes to just shit they can't understand. But to me, I've been telling people, oh, you like that? Yeah, really? Oh, you mean the Koreans are making fucking bangers like they've been doing for years? You just figured that out now? Right. Did you see Parasite? Have you seen Train to Busan? Have you seen fucking...
That's why I cannot wait, because I feel one of the people who unfairly has kind of missed out on this wave is the incredible Park Chan-wook, who is my entree into Korean cinema through Old Boy and Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, etc. And I just can't wait for him to come back now, given the fact that everybody kind of all of a sudden has decided to pay attention to world cinema, at least if it's coming from Korea.
Right.
And I think he has a TV series in the works and has a new feature coming, and I'm that's the guy I need for people to get refamiliarized with.
Right.
So I'm very excited for whenever that happens. Okay, wrapping up TV for me personally, Big Mouth season 5, I thought was a return to form. Season 4 was a little bit of a misstep. I don't know if it's just the fact that it came out in the midst of COVID and I just wasn't in the mood for it, But season 5 is right back up there with the greats of the show. Fun time. I think I've said it before, but definitely like top 2 or 3 post South Park animated shows, animated comedies for sure. Right, I would throw Bob's Burgers into that conversation, and obviously most people would say Rick and Morty as well. But there you go. Succession season 3 is in progress right now. That is one of my main holdouts before I make my year-end list, because it's going to be in the top 10. It's just a question of where it lands. They are batting 1,000 right now. It is on its way to being a 10 out of 10 season. And the only other thing that's going to sneak in before the end of the year, Ben 15 finally gets to wrap up their season. I mentioned a few episodes back that they did an animated special during quarantine, basically. But they finally get to wrap their season. So that comes out on Friday, actually. Very excited. And new Always Sunny in Philadelphia launches on Wednesday. Those will be on FX on Hulu on Thursday. Very excited for that. Last note on TV. I have watched the Cowboy Bebop live action Netflix adaptation. And it's okay. Not nearly as bad as everybody's telling you it is.
If you were going to, I don't know what your plan was, but if you were going to, the new JoJo's dropping on Netflix exclusively next month in parts, because they're doing like 40. They do like 48 episodes or something, so they're gonna get it in chunks. But I don't know if you've watched any of the Rohan stuff, but you definitely, Funimation has it, FMV, like you could totally find the series somewhere and just binge all of them.
So many apps seem to realize that, like, dude, Crunchyroll's like eating our lunch with the anime, as is like Funimation, because I know they all have their own separate apps. And so as a result of that, Netflix has beefed up their output and their acquisitions. Hulu has probably the best selection right now, I would say, of your like classic series and more modern stuff. And HBO Max has quite a bit as well.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was kind of happy about that.
But yes, those are my overall thoughts. I thought they nailed, people have their varying feelings on John Cho as Spike, but I thought he crushed. I thought the core 3 and their chemistry really, really worked. My only real, for me, the only thing that really didn't work in the show was a fundamental kind of altering of the structure, which is so much of what's great about the original series is it is very episodic, and you have beginning, middle, and end. Like, we just went on an adventure, and now it's over.
Right.
And by virtue of the fact that this is a TV show and it has a season structure, they're kind of constantly cutting over and building up the villain narrative, which I understand the instinct to do, because it's like, okay, if we're stretching this out, like, let's give a little more backstory, etc. But it takes away from the flow of episodes when it's like, okay, we've got our 3 principals over here off on an adventure, but okay, now we got to go check in with Vicious and what's going on with him. So that shit got a little tedious and frustrating. I think it gets in its way a little bit. There's some wonky, like, some of it is very, like, visually faithful and, like, pretty impressive what they pulled off, and, like, you know, scratches the surface of that Speed Racer Scott Pilgrim like territory. And then other parts felt like, you know, they were rushed, and I know there was budget constraints, there was COVID issues, and I had also heard like most of the big effects, because they shot it in New Zealand, most of the big effects people were like working on the new Lord of the Rings series. So I'm like, they didn't even have like the top tier guys working on this. All of that said, I really and truly hope that it does get a second season, because I think they've set enough of a template that now, because they've kind of told a lot of the core narrative and story of the original series in terms of the overall arc, now I feel like if they get to do a season 2, it can be more like the original series, and we can just have fun adventures every week with these characters we like.
Right.
So I think it is worth watching, regardless of your familiarity with the original series. But I obviously think you should probably watch that first. Be a very weird experience to do it in reverse order, but I'm sure there's people that are going to end up doing that. Yeah. And the original series is also on Netflix again now.
So. Oh, good.
So there you go. That's pretty much it for me on the TV front. I have a giant laundry list of movies, but whatever you want to talk about, brother.
All right, so to mix in between the two, to kind of transition between television and movies, I'm gonna hit you with three. Is it three? One? Yeah, three docs that I watched.
Okay.
That I think you would like if you haven't already seen them. I finally watched that Island of Dr. Moreau doc.
About the one about the director who
yeah.
went. What is it? Island of Lost Dreams? Is that what they called it?
Mm-hmm.
Richard Stanley.
Yeah.
Yes.
I watched that one.
Pretty fascinating. Yeah.
Pretty eye opening.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy. I watched Rumble, Indians That Rock the World.
We talked about it briefly.
Off mic.
No. On the previous podcast, I think.
Did we?
I'm pretty sure we got a bit of that.
Maybe I did. Yeah.
I think we transitioned. We were talking about Knuckle Up
in the Native
Indian
American
Reservation.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you mentioned it, but it's on Prime. I watched the trailer for it the other night. I'm going to watch it, but it's about the untold history of Native Americans influencing
everything,
all aspects of American music, basically.
Yeah. And I'm glad somebody finally made it to take it back and show you.
Well, and when I saw some of the talking heads in it, I was like, why did I not see a trailer for this 4 years ago when it came out?
Right.
Like, this is one of those I would have, like, rented for $6
exactly
on
yeah VOD
I would have when it came out if I knew it was out there. But
there was a if you ever heard of that, actually I guess I have four, but the fourth one really isn't I wouldn't call it a big one. Have you heard of Primal Screen?
Is that the Rodney Asher one that
it's a short one he did about the trailer for the
trailer for
so
Manic for Magic,
yes,
the Hopkins ventriloquist movie.
Like, that guy, man, give him all the money to make anything he wants. My only
disappointment with that was I thought it was then going to be a series.
Right.
I thought it was going to be a series of maybe not all Rodney Asher, but just different people with, like, hey, this thing fucked me up as a kid.
Right.
Here's my history with it, and like other people having the same common story. But yes,
it just makes me happy that I never came across that trailer.
Yes, that's a great little short though. It's available if you have a Shudder subscription.
Finally, the last doc I watched was A Man Named Scott.
I assume you enjoyed it. We have not had a chance to get to it yet.
You will love it.
The Kid Cudi doc that is now on Amazon Prime. This is the first. Normally, last few years I've been kind of slacking on the doc front, but I got to the point where so many docs had crept into my top 10 movies of the year. I will tell you in advance, end of the year, I'm going to have a top 10 docs and a top 10 narrative features.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I'm going to have two separate lists because I've seen some pretty incredible things this year. But no, that is one I need to check out before I finalize my list.
It will make you, if you don't already know, it will make you a firm believer, you, the listener, a firm believer that, like, one of the greatest artists to ever do hip hop at all, as far as I'm concerned. The talking heads they have in it are crazy. I mean, when is the last time you saw Kanye West sit down to talk about someone and not just be? It's not himself. That's talk about something. Yeah.
I don't know.
And weirdest thing of all, I'm gonna spoil this just a little bit for you. You know who like is buddies with him, and they are like kind of on the same level in some places. Like they actually know each other and talk and hang out. Shia LaBeouf.
Okay.
Random. They're random as fuck. Okay. But it does a good job of explaining who he is, where he came from, what his impact was, and why you didn't know that was his impact. But, that's why he is who he is and what he is. And just, it was, I thought I was going to watch it. I'll probably get into it for a little bit and be like, okay, this is kind of, it's a lot of like, servicing itself to like make him, but it's totally like there's certainly some times in there where he's like, nah, I'm not going to talk about that, and you want to know and you want to figure out, well, what is it like, but you don't, but you still come away feeling like you understand what it is, and that's probably one of my favorite documentaries I've watched in a long time.
Hell yeah.
Man Named Scott. It's on Prime.
All
right, that is the last of my docs. I've already done my rewatches, so everything else from here on out is brand new.
Well, new to you, but yes.
Well, new to me.
Okay.
I've never seen it before.
We're going back a bit. I watched The Nowhere Inn, starring St. Vincent and Carrie Brown's team. Interesting little indie movie. I had a reasonable amount of fun with it. Did you see Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. In theaters, or did you wait for old Disney Plus?
Disney Plus.
Okay. Caught this one in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think?
Beautiful.
I thought it was
Fucking
great.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had heard prior to going in, like, some criticisms of the CG, particularly in the third act.
Get the fuck out of here.
On the big screen, did not experience that at all. Especially compared to the other Marvel movie that just came out. Have you seen Eternals?
Nope.
Okay.
Don't plan on it.
Are you just hard passing on that one?
No, I mean, look.
On principle?
Yeah. You're going to sit around and let Thanos...
with the Chinese?
You're going to sit around and let Thanos do what he did? Come on.
It is a little hard to swallow, dude. There's a lot of stuff that's hard to swallow in that movie. I had a lot of issues, and it's one of those, the more I think about it, the less I like it, and I didn't like it much to begin with.
I mean, poor thing for her first big movie, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but at the same time, I appreciate you taking a break from the mold. I appreciate you doing something different, shooting on location and making everything look great. And I'm sorry you had to be the one to be the cross the bear and the one to be sacrificed.
Sorry, but that is one of the biggest things, is Kevin Feige just like jerking himself off over like sunsets. I've never seen her. She's putting stuff on camera I've never seen before. And it's like, it's because you guys
it's not a green screen.
You guys shoot everything in a box. But here's the thing. They still put a bunch of CG garbage in the frame, dude. So it's not like you get to appreciate any of her cinematography. Mm-hmm. And it just ends up looking like a lot of other fucking superhero movies. I had a lot of problems with Eternals. Shang-Chi, on the other hand, I thought was a total fucking blast. Exactly what I want from an origin movie.
Oh, no, that's the thing I love. It's like...
Tony Leung, one of my favorite villains.
Alan?
In the recent
Come on,
run.
man.
Yeah, dude. I love it.
There's so much that man does with his fucking face.
Oh, 100%.
Without saying a word. You're just like, oh, god damn it, man. Yeah. Like, you totally get it. And it's like, I love that they clear up the whole thing with Ben Kingsley. And he's got like a little furry friend thing from this magical land. And it's like, there's beats with him throughout. It's like, when he talks about, like, I remember the first time I, was whatever, it's like 1968, Planet of the Apes. I told my mom, it's like, why do they get those apes to do that? It's just acting. Oh, and I realized if those apes could act, imagine what I could do. It's just like, it's so fucking... This doesn't belong in a Marvel movie. It means nothing to the story whatsoever. But god damn it, is it perfect. And it clears up all the stuff about who the Mandarin really was, supposedly, all that kind of stuff. And it's just a really good movie. Yeah. And it's like, the action sequences, I mean, all in there. And that's the thing I love, is like... And I hope they do more of this. It's not an origin story. He already is Shang-Chi.
Right.
It's just like, by the way.
I'm not like public about it.
Yeah, like,
Right. But no, I thought from a pure action standpoint, I think it's a huge leap forward in terms of incorporate. I mean, there was like wushu style, like, Crouching Tiger shit. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, that opening... Like
the two of them fighting, oh my god,
in the
beautiful.
garden. I mean, that's like an anime sequence come to life. You want to talk about live action anime? We were talking about Bebop a minute ago, but I actually need to rewatch this one on Disney Plus, because this was, I mean, as the recent spate of Marvel movies go, this is up there for me.
Well, did you watch Black Widow?
I have not yet. No.
Oh my god.
Okay, I'll get to it.
No, it's.
I need to, apparently, because I'm watching Hawkeye right now.
I haven't started. I'm gonna wait till.
And it is. I'm not even gonna say it is what it is. Like, it exists as a thing, and I am observing it, but I don't have any investment whatsoever in the show thus far. But I have heard, and I think this has also been teased, that Florence Pugh is definitely showing up in the show. So I need the context of Black Widow to don't spoil it for me. I'm gonna watch it. I'm just saying that's
David Harbour does a really good job. It does enough of an emotional hit to know, like, with what it does with the movie, the way it ends it does enough for you to be like, well, damn, knowing what happens to her.
Okay.
And it it still manages to like she fucking steals that entire movie. By the way,
I mean,
like
yeah.
you should give that $25 million you lost to her. You know what I mean? Like seriously, Disney should split it, give half to her and half to you because I'm not saying she needs to go to the hospital because her back's broken from carrying the movie, but it's really close. David Harbour's great, you know.
Okay.
As always, I couldn't, you know, it is what it is. I think it's one of those that if you could have put it just right after Infinity War, slip it in right there, so that when she goes in Endgame, you have that emotional punch. And I know that you had to put out Captain Marvel because he's calling Captain Marvel at the end of Infinity War. I get it. But instead of shoehorning something else in between, if you could have managed to release it then, I feel like it packs way more of a punch.
Right.
And it allows you to say, okay, we did that movie with you. We've got this one out now. In the future, we'll come to you if we want to reboot. If not, well, you know, you're done with us. You want to re-sign a contract to come back for more movies, you're more than welcome to. But it's going to be on our terms. But that being said, movie is definitely worth watching. And I'm waiting on Hawkeye because as far as I'm concerned, somehow or another, it's like the one post I read on Twitter said it's like Disney took a gamble on a guy with a hot streak back in the early 2000s, and he is where he is now. Somebody saw him in Hurt Locker. They saw him in one other thing besides that.
The Town.
And they were like, he had a really good year, like really good hot streak, very start of the 2010s. And maybe if you'd have waited to see what that Bourne movie did, or was the Bourne movie before those?
It was after those.
Right. Maybe if you waited to see...
that was what he got afterwards, and they were like, oh, maybe you can be Bourne. Maybe you can be new Ethan Hunt. Oh, no, and no.
Yeah.
I have very complicated feelings about Jeremy Renner.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like him in other stuff.
Full 180 from a guy who, in the Hurt Locker era, I was like, this is the guy. This is my new dude. This is my new Colin Farrell, if you will.
Yeah.
Complete 180 to now I am utterly indifferent to pretty much anything he puts out in the world.
Right.
And I also think that, personally, he seems kind of like a piece of shit as a human being. But that's just the vibe I catch off of that dude.
Yeah.
Don't feel free to join us on the podcast anytime there, Jeremy.
Yeah.
We can have a chat about
your
Mr.
Renner, please.
Spousal abuse claims and your country music career and your house flipping endeavors.
Is he from Boston?
I don't think so.
Well, I only judge people who are from Boston based off that one Super Bowl commercial about the Hyundai with Smart Pack. So, like, I know that, like, Krasinski's from there.
No, I think he's just good with the accent, but
okay.
No, I don't think so. Anyways.
So, yeah, Black Widow would have been that's what new one I watched that you didn't watch. Got it.
Yes. A new one I watched that you have not watched. Titan. Which I meant to tell you that I rented again on Prime, so you can watch it.
Teton?
You took French class. Titane. Titan.
Oh. I thought
French
you were going to...
for titanium.
Okay. I thought you were talking like Teton, like...
No, not like the Tetons. I'm being a pretentious fuck and calling it Titan. Titan is how most of us Americans would pronounce it, I suppose.
And this is about the Mad Titan Thanos?
No.
Oh, we're not in the Marvel War. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we're not. We're trying to transition out of that.
Okay. So what's it about?